Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 102?
103.
103?
After 100, does it really matter? It's just
honestly,
100
just say
something.
whatever now.
That's a good point. 103, episode 103, and most importantly, our third episode of our Noclip Games of 2022. If you are new to the podcast, welcome. If you're new to our Game of the Year series, you can watch these out of order or listen to them out of order, I guess. 2 weeks ago, we basically laid out our top 10 games and a couple of hangers-on. We sort of brought together a list of 14 games that we have really enjoyed this year. Last week, we talked about 4 of them and gave them awards. Those games were Vampire Survivors, Return to Monkey Island, Elden Ring, and Cult of the Lamb. And this week, we're going to talk about 5 more from that list. We're going to talk about Immortality, Neon White, Citizen Sleeper, Signalis, and Weird West. Warning to everyone, we will be spoiling parts of these games. We'll try our best not to be completely go ham on spoilers, but there's going to be an element of open season. Some of these games are basically impossible to talk about without spoiling them. Games like Immortality, I think, is a big one. Neon White, not so much. I don't know how much there is to spoil there. So if you're super sensitive to it, feel free to skip those sections. We will be putting time codes both on the YouTube video and on the audio version. Just go to the description. The time codes will be at the top. We'll be also giving awards to these games because we have not done categories in Game of the Year because we think here on Noclip that it's just sort of an arbitrary way of selecting a game that is good at a very specific thing. We prefer to celebrate the games as they are and sort of give them awards that fit them, bespoke, sort of farm to table, individually created awards. So before we actually get to this week's, we should probably talk about last week's awards because we did also get some. We've had some time. It's actually been 2 weeks for us since we recorded the last episode because we had it in the chamber and then also we're recording this one pretty close to publish time. So there has been some suggestions over on YouTube for some of those award names. So let's just get through those pretty quick. Actually, I should probably just introduce everyone first. Frank Kelly, how you doing?
Good. This is exciting. It feels like finals week, cramming all these games, but it's like good studying. So I'm very, my brain is over gamed, but I'm excited.
That's a good point. A lot of us have spent the past 2 weeks catching up on the games we did not play. So in a way, I feel like we're way better tuned to talk about these ones. We kind of picked the 4 at the start that we could talk about already. So thankfully, these ones are fresh off the bone, eh, Jeremy?
This is the week that I am most excited to talk about games because this is the lineup of games that these are the games of the games of the games, my friends.
Yeah, I was wondering if after this we actually can pick 10. I wonder if the other ones would fall off. You know what I mean? Because I certainly have come to love a lot of the games that you guys suggested that I had not played enough of. I cannot wait to talk about Tunic, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yes! Dude,
yeah. Oh my God.
The next one.
Yeah, so there's a couple of games that really kind of went over for me this time, which was pretty exciting. Jesse, how have you felt? Have any of today's ones, was there any new ones you hadn't played that are on today's episode that you're feeling hot about? Or
Luckily, I've played everything on the 14 games that we selected already, a good amount of. Not enough of Weird West, which I'm excited to talk about and hear more about your thoughts on. We've heard kind of vague things, and we're going to spoil a little bit of that, so can't wait to hear your thoughts on the pig guy and who the other guys are. There's ones you've mentioned only by, concept. I can't wait to know what those are. Yeah. I'm very excited. I'm all gamed out.
I finally get to talk about the Native American guy. Yeah. There's some good stuff there. But yes, the awards we gave out last week were, for Vampire Survivors, we gave Undead Underdog. Now, we have had many very good suggestions from the chat and maybe some off Twitter. The 2 that I got, that I found, Ryan Laffler said Time Sucker.
Oh, that's good.
Which is a good one.
Which is pretty good. We also, Inkalot also commented on the YouTube channels, Best Fang for Your Buck.
That was my favorite.
Yeah,
That's your favorite?
Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what everyone's thinking?
That's the one where it's like, who else was going to beat that? Who else was going to be the best fang for your buck?
That's
right?
true.
Come on.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I was going to say like a Castlevania GBA collection would also be best fang for your buck, but I think Vampire Survivors takes it this year. I love a good pun. So yeah, I love it.
How do we feel? Yeah, how do we feel about changing Undead Underdog to best bang for your buck?
Absolutely.
It's pretty damn good.
Best bang for your buck brought to you by Inkalot on YouTube. Checks in the mail, Inkalot. Thanks very much for that. Okay, we'll make that the official title. Sweetest Execution was Cult of the Lambs one, which I still think is just like beautiful. That was Jesse, right? I think that was that's Sweetest Execution. Has the sweetness of the cuteness of the game. Execution, there's a lot of executing, sacrificing people in this game. So there's that. Boundless Wonder we got for Elden Ring. I've soured on this one pretty bad. I'm not so down on the Boundless one. Somebody said we should try and get Grace in there. somewhere.
Oh, that's
Grace
a
is
good
good.
point.
Yeah.
Something with Grace. What do you think? Maybe this is the wrong time to start asking you guys.
Yeah, I feel like we need to warm up. I feel like
Yeah.
my bones are all stiffened
Okay.
up.
We'll come back to that. Maybe at the end of this episode we'll circle back. And then Impossible Mission Accomplished Award was for Return to Monkey Island.
That one still hits.
Which was perfect. It's just so silly. It was referring to the ending of the game. Revalance 123 suggested the once in a lifetime finale, which
That's pretty good too.
which feels stronger. It's a little bit less sexy than Impossible Mission Accomplished.
I just like Impossible Mission Accomplished is so funny because it has a reference to Mission Impossible for no reason in
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
So it feels so orthogonal to video games as a
It also has a
concept.
reference to George Bush on a
Mission
flight carrier,
accomplished?
right?
Yes.
You're right. Yeah, we got him. Or no, sorry, that was Obama. Mission accomplished on the
Oh yeah.
wrong one. Yeah, we got him. LeChuck. He's finally.
Oh man, he's throwing shoes at Guybrush.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Stan throwing shoes at him. Okay, we'll come back to those. So I guess let's talk about one of these 5 games this week. We have Immortality, Neon White, Citizen Sleeper, Signalis, and Weird West. Let's not mess around with form too much and just go with the first one on the list here. Immortality. Who were the big pushers for Immortality? I think it might have been Jeremy, was it?
I was a huge advocate. I played this game like right when it came out, probably,
Okay.
and I would not shut up about it to anyone who would listen.
I had.
It was definitely on my list.
Was in yours too? Frank, had you played much of it?
Yeah. I think this hits for everybody here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons. Like I was lying down yesterday, like reflecting on it, having finally gotten the ending.
Were you
And
actually lying down reflecting?
I was lying
Wow.
down, looking at my
Nice.
wall of like anime babe posters, and just like
Frank is fucking deep, dude. I feel like Frank has
for
a
real.
deep inner
Layers.
life.
Yeah.
I love Immortality because it doesn't feel like a video game. Like I don't know what you would even describe this experience. It's also on like Netflix, and they've ported it to other devices, iOS. But I love it specifically with Noclip, is we deal with footage of video games. Like, we are all editors. And Immortality is a game where you are essentially editing or digging through footage. And, like, I feel like that's what we all do here. And so it's so fun to play something that's not Adobe Premiere. But it doesn't feel like work editing. It is genuinely exciting combing through all the footage. Pulling back, describing Immortality, it's the story of an actress through 3 films, and there's very mysterious circumstances that happen on the set. And as you uncover more and more footage, you discover what's going on, and there's so many mysteries upon mysteries upon mysteries. This feels like if David Lynch were to make a video game, this would be his masterpiece, like in the form of video games. Specifically, so much so that like one thing that immediately hooked me with Immortality is. Every film, there's 3 different eras. There's like a 60s film, a 70s film.
Name him. Try and name him. Let's see.
Ambrosia, Minsky, and like 2 of everything or something like that.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's Project Ambrosio, I think.
Yeah.
But every film is so specific to its era. So the first film in the 60s has straight up matte paintings in the background and very old school, kind of cheesy sets, but it's like what looks like a Technicolor film. And then in the 70s, it's very lo-fi, dingy New York apartments, indie filmmaking, shooting
Handheld
on
camera.
Yeah, shooting on the streets, hypersexual, just everyone drinking and smoking, and then there's behind the scenes films. And,
You're talking as if Project Ambrosia was not also
Yes.
hypersexual.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's so many details. And then the like 1999 2000 film straight up just looks like Mulholland Drive.
Oh my gosh.
Like
Yeah. So good.
everything is
Yeah.
icy blue. There's like the 2 female leads, and again hypersexual. And then what makes the experience amazing is at any point you're digging through footage, you pause it and you can. The mechanic of the game is you can snap zoom into a specific image, whether it's an actor's face, their cigarette, their boobs, whatever, and it will transport you to another scene. And it's become so fun. Like you're almost time traveling. It's like Dr. Manhattan if he was an editor. And it becomes so addictive. And also like any puzzle game, I played it. I feel like in 3 different sittings, and every time I'd come back and rewind footage and discover something, and then the next element of the game evolves.
Yeah. So I feel like so I played maybe 45, 50 an hour of this months ago, and was kind of still wondering what I was meant to be doing for a while, right? And there is a moment where something happens in relation to how you're scrubbing through the footage where you witness something that is sort of a layer deeper. And this is the last stop, folks. If you want to get off the Immortality, if you want to play this game and I really, really think you should, then you need to stop listening right now and just skip to the next time code. But something happens where... And even the way in which you unlock it, which is this very physical act of either using your mouse to sort of find the right speed to rewind at, or using the hotkeys, because hilariously you can use editing keyboard shortcuts if you want. You could just do it that way, which is pretty funny, I thought. And it reveals this sort of what ultimately is the actual story of the game. It's the subtext ends up being the actual movies you're watching themselves. Jeremy, I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about this. Obviously, you're a big champion of this game. I went back and played it because of Game of the Year. I had missed out on Sam Barlow's previous games, Her Story, and... what was
Telling Lies.
Telling Lies. This is one of my favorite games of the year now. This blew me away. I absolutely adored it.
Nice.
Tell me what struck you about it, especially as somebody who's the sort of camera op of the group here.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so steeped in Sam Barlow's obvious love of cinema, of movies. And it's not only to accurately recreate the vibe of kind of a period of cinema in a video game, but to do it 3 times, and then not only do it 3 times for 3 different periods of cinema, but also to have sort of period appropriate behind the scenes for all of it, and then not to get too deep into specific spoilers or whatever, just kind of speak about them generally, but there's also kind of little flirtations of other time periods and liminal spaces and just all of these things. It's such a wildly ambitious game that I talk about this all the time when I talk about games that I love. I feel like games that really punch above their weight are games where you're not really sure where the boundaries of the game are, and I constantly felt like I was pushing in new directions in this game. I would explore a clue would lead me down this rabbit hole, and all of a sudden I'm watching a traumatic memory from Nazi Germany in black and white, and I'm like, how did I end up here? It just feels like it's this schizophrenic network of trauma and memory and ambition and art that all weave together in this way, and it just lets you unpack it at your own speed, which I think is the coolest thing about this. When we initially talked about this on the podcast, the thing that I was stressing the most is that this is a game that just kind of gives you everything and says, go ahead, just go explore this. Here's a mystery for you to unpack. And it really does feel like someone gave you a bunch of mysterious tapes and was like, there's something about this. You should take a look at these. I bet there's something weird here. And then you're just sitting alone in the editing suite at night. And I don't know. It gives me this feeling of the feeling I kept having when I was playing it is that I was had all of this editing material, and I'd gone to an edit lab. When I was in college, there was an edit lab that you would go to, and if you went there late at night to finish a project, you'd be one of maybe 2 people there.
Right.
And it gave me this feeling that I was in the edit lab at school, and that if I found something I wasn't supposed to find, someone was going to sneak up behind me. Yeah, I don't know.
Dude, I was. Do you remember me messaging you?
Yeah. Danny messaged me and was like, how scary is this game? Because I'm alone at the office at night.
Yeah, for reasons that we'll get into at a later date. I was spending quite a lot of late nights here at the office, and I was spending some of them playing this game, and we might as well just sort of wade into those waters now. there is a sort of alternative footage that can be accessed in these tapes by doing something with regard to the playback that reveals different characters who also sort of inhabit the characters that are within the, what you see is what you get footage. And at one stage, I texted Jeremy and said, how freaky does this get? Because I have to stay here tonight and I don't want to be unable to go to sleep. And I was like, if one of these motherfuckers walks up to the camera, I'm going to lose my mind. And then I sent him a picture of, it was one of the ones from Project Ambrosio on the matte painting, where the one walks up to the screen, and I was just like fucking in my seat, like moving backwards, screaming. And I took a picture and sent it to him and was like, you motherfucker. Absolutely terrifying. Can I just say one thing? The acting in this is absolutely brilliant.
Oh, it's so good. And the funny thing is when it first came out, I saw a few people bouncing off of this game and saying the acting was corny or was kind of like ham-fisted. And it's so funny because I think it's so the opposite. I think that acting, I feel like the most authentic acting in this is the behind-the-scenes stuff. That's the stuff that feels very, it feels verite. It feels like a documentary. And then some of the acting in the actual footage you see from the 3 films, it is hammy, but it's appropriately I think that
the Ambrosio stuff is like of course it's like delivered with
it's like a giallo film. It's like it's supposed to be that kind of like ham-fisted sort of like weird Italian period pieces about
the guy who plays Ambrosio is so I can't imagine anyone else doing that. He also does look a little bit like you, Jeremy. I'm sorry.
Cool.
But he is so good. He is like the casting was just brilliant. Like he was fantastic. The guy who is the detective who plays like he's sort of like he's like an all-American dude, but he has to play. He was so good. The lead actor Manon Gage is just, I don't know how the fuck she does that, because she's playing like 8 different versions of herself. Basically,
I don't understand. That's the thing that amazes me about this acting is that it's like because of the framing device, they're playing a character in the behind the scenes, but then because of the framing device, they're playing a character in these films, and it always feels like it's one of those games that's enriched as you go along. So sometimes you'll revisit a clip that you watched at the beginning of the game, and now you know the context of kind of who that person is and what their headspace is, and also sort of their identity is revealed to you in a deeper way. And it really feels like the acting is done in a way where if you watch it on its face value, you're like, oh yeah, that's a person acting in like a 60s whatever film. But then once you gain sort of like the meta context of it, you're like, oh no, that's like a person acting as a person, acting as a character in a film, and it really, like, I don't know, maybe a lot of it could be kind of like Kuleshov effect, where Kuleshov effect is if you show a picture of a baby and then you cut to a picture of an old man, you're like, oh, the old man is like looking sweetly at the baby. But then if you do the exact same cut with like a sexy lady in a bikini and then cut to the old man, it could be the same shot of the old man, but you're like, oh, he's like a lecherous old creep. I wonder how much of this game's impact was the fact that we read into things, and I wonder how much of it was the actors carrying a lot of that meta context with them. But either way, it's so effective.
I went through the sort of next layer of hell of this, which is watching the actors Twitch stream the game, which is the best behind the scenes, because I'm like, oh, it'd be a great one to do a documentary on. But I was like, just watching them play it was like fascinating, because obviously some of them were only in one movie, right? So they didn't see any of the other stuff. They didn't know any of the other movies. They knew what the game was about or the context of it and all that sort of stuff, but they didn't see it, which was pretty wild. Jesse, what are your thoughts on Immortality? You're another one who was pushing for it.
Yeah, I think Immortality is probably one of the most interesting games of this year in terms of what it's doing with its systems, and also what it's doing, like you guys have been talking about, with the acting and with the the direction and everything. Like, I think I haven't played a lot of FMV games, and by that I mean I've played no FMV games, and Immortality is kind of the first one. But something I was always confused about, like, I know,
all downhill from here.
Shit, are there
Play Mad Dog McCree next.
Night Trap? What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like all those games, from what I've seen of them anyways, they all kind of fall into the trap of trying to make a video game out of footage. So you're looking at, like, here's the thing, they'll hold it up to the camera, here's the item you need, or like, oh boy, this character's going to go to this room, and something, like, you know, you have to go to that room in Night Trap or whatever. I don't know. I haven't played a lot of these games, like I said. But playing Immortality, I never felt like I was watching a directed moment. Like, obviously there's things they're doing where they're like, here's an item that you probably have been looking for this whole time. You've been scouring clips for this thing to click on to go to another thing. But they do it in this way where it feels so natural. Like, none of it feels like it was purposefully put on the screen in such a way as to be the solution to a puzzle. It's just, that's what the footage looked like. I can't even imagine what process went into pre-production for making this game, how they put it together to make it feel so fluid and so legitimate, and still be a perfectly playable video game that makes complete sense once you kind of peer into it. And we spoke earlier about the sort of the surprise of seeing those characters show up. I just quickly wanted to tell my story of how I realized that.
Go for it.
So I played for 45 minutes, about the same time you did, Danny, before you jumped off. And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know what the thing is. Like, I love Sam Barlow's games. Telling Lies was awesome. I played that with Cass the whole way through. We were like little sleuths. It was awesome. And her story was one of like the first big indies I ever played. And then this one, I was like, I don't know what the hook is. And then Cassie, who was watching me, she goes to bed. She's in the other room, fucking, sleeping, get ready to go off to Snooze Town. And I'm still over there flipping through this footage, and she hears me scrubbing. And part of the game is scrubbing through footage, going back and forth. And I didn't know what was going on. I was on the sex scene. There's like a sex scene it's not really sex, but whatever, in a bathroom stall. In the back of this club.
That one. Fuck, that's a particularly jarring one. Yeah.
It's pretty shocking. But up till that point, I hadn't seen the sort of background character thing that was going on. And so I had my like Fight Club moment. Like Tyler Durden popped up on the screen for a second for me. It was crazy. I was just reversing. They showed up for one frame and then went away. And I was like, what? And Cassie's like, are you okay? And I was like, the game just got good. And she went back to bed.
I think one of my favorite parts about, because I think I saw one of the black and white little sort of to camera, like the diary entry ones where the one is talking straight to the player or whatever. But that was the first one I saw where it was the one and the other. Is that what they're called? Sort of having there. And I think the reason, what I love about how that one was constructed is there's some ones that really encourage you to rewind. And there's a fantastic shot in that where they're having this like intimate moment in the bathroom stall and the door opens and it has one of those sort of like infinite mirror, sort of shots, which also doesn't have the camera in it. Just like, a nice, interesting shot, which then I think zooms in a very sort of like era specific way where they just do that like hard zoom and then somebody I think comes in and notices them. But that shot and that reveal I think is one of the things you'd go back and look at again, because it's like a very like aesthetically pleasing shot. So in my head it was like, oh, that was a really clever way to like get people to rewind, because rewinding is how you sort of like unveil some of that footage. I'd love to know how hands-on they are with like showing those frames. Like, do they every once in a while, like, is there a timer running where they're like, all right, they've played enough of the game, let's fuck with them, you know what I mean? Is there like an AI director in there messing around with it? I echoed the same thing Jeremy said as well about just how it's a miracle that this thing doesn't, because it's obviously a video game, you're playing it, but it's a miracle how this footage, I very rarely or ever was like aware of the fact that this was shot for a video game. Like in my head I was, because I'm like a producer of this stuff, as we all are, of video stuff, that I kind of always was a little bit, because like you're just interested in it. But it's just really well produced. Like, it's really well directed. There was a great question on the Twitch chat of one of the streams where somebody asked how many clacker boards did they have, but apparently they only ever used the era specific ones. They didn't have like another layer of clacker boards running.
Oh, that's cool.
The end slates, and I loved how they did all that stuff as well. They had the clothespin, I think we talked about, for one of the end slates, and the reversing it for the end slate, the flipping the board upside down. Like, there was a lot of like knowledge of how movies are produced, which was really cool. Jeremy, I asked you, there was one effect that they used, which I was like, what is that thing called, where you have this like split focus? Because they use it a bunch in the Giallo movie, where, you know, your man Ambrosio's lying down in the foreground and he's in focus, and then in the background, and I was like, what's that called again?
A split diopter. Yeah, so it's a device that essentially splits the field of view of the lens into two planes. One is focused, one throws focus far away, one throws focus close. So you can have, there's a famous shot I think it's in Jaws, is probably the most famous split diopter shot. I think there's one in like The Godfather or Goodfellas, one of those G movies with gangsters in them. But yeah, essentially you can have a character in the foreground in very sharp focus, midground totally out of focus, character or thing in the background totally in focus. It's a very cool effect.
Yeah, it's so, I don't know, ethereal or something. And I was
it's bizarre.
Like, how the fuck
it looks wrong. Like, it doesn't look like you should be able to do that.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Immortality?
Many.
Yeah, let's jump on in, dive in.
The only thing I wanted to say is that it's just like, I can't believe this video game works, like Jesse was saying. I wonder what kind of mind map or like document or chart. I wonder how much of it is just luck that it works, is essentially what I'm saying. I feel like as I was playing it, I kept thinking you can only plan so much of a game like this. If there's a part of me that doubts very much that there was every shot was like, okay, and this will have the cigarette, and if you click the cigarette, it'll go. Like, I refuse to believe that there is a mind map of every route out of every shot into every other shot. So yeah, I don't know. It's either like a huge leap of faith or a perfectly executed, ridiculously ambitious project. But either way, the fact that it just works is like, it's just a miracle. The other thing that I wanted to say is one of my favorite things the Noclip channel has ever put out is the Rediscovering Mysteries documentary, and I think that this game is so good at creating what essentially feels like a piece of mythology or like urban myth or something that you organically discover. And it really does feel like you found a bunch of videotapes at a bus stop and then, did the old watching, syncing up Dark Side of the Moon to Wizard of Oz or whatever. You're like, whoa, dude, it's like they're talking about the Scarecrow at the same time.
Whoa.
Right.
Yeah, whoa.
Yeah.
You found a copy of this game on top of a bus stop, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know. It just gave me this feeling that I was seeing something that nobody else had ever seen before, and that's such a hard thing to curate in a video game, especially a video game that thousands of other people are playing. Yeah, it's just. I feel like this is what games are about for me.
It's like playing an ARG, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of what
it's an ARG, like. But it's in the game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. It's weird.
Well said.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about the themes then, like the ending of the game and the reveal of what it is? Because there's a couple of games that also I don't want to. There has been a few games that have come out that I'm like, I need to talk about. Did Jay Tholen play this? Because Jay Tholen, who made Hypnospace Outlaw, is one of the more outwardly Christian game devs. He's a practicing Christian. He reads scripture. He is active in his faith, and we talked to him about it on the podcast a number of years ago at this stage, I guess. And like I'm like a recovering Catholic. Jeremy's obviously studied religion in school, and one of the things that, or in college, sorry, and one of the things that stands out to me about 2022 in video games, and there's a couple of games that aren't on our list here that also do this, but I don't want to mention them because it's sort of in a way a spoiler. But like this year was like the year of the secret Jesus game. Like there are so many games I played this year that are either overtly, like, you know, we'll talk about Pentiment next week, or you know, subtly, subtextually about religion or faith in what in the lives of humans and what position it plays, or just our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Like, I have seen Jesus or Jesus referenced in games more this year, in games that I did not think he'd be referenced. Then it's bizarre. And obviously in this game they just go whole hog on it, where you're like basically told that this character that's popping up essentially was Jesus or played Mary, or, you know, they are storytellers. They have been trying to communicate and influence human society by telling stories for centuries, these angels or whatever they are. And that obviously this is her attempting to do that in the world of the silver screen, while the other is sort of fed up with it and sort of doesn't believe in the storytelling power of the medium. Jeremy, I'm very interested in what you got from this whole thing.
The thing that stuck with me the most about Immortality's themes is that the creation of art. I wonder how much Sam Barlow thinks making art is worthwhile and how much he thinks it's kind of like a thing that sucks your soul, because I was left with the distinct feeling after playing this game that the creation of art in order to preserve one's legacy, or in order to sort of like imbue a piece of art with oneself with the intent of creating a sense of immortality, or like preserving your legacy or your memory or your vision, is like, I think the game is saying
it's like a sacrificial act or something.
Yeah, it's almost like inherently toxic or something, because it's like, because it will destroy you to do so, and it will destroy people around you, and you'll have to like vampirically suck the souls of the people involved in your work and stuff. And also there's this sense in which putting, like, even if you're creating a film about something traumatic that happened to you, and it really happened to you, and then you make a movie about it, taking a bunch of people, the actors and all the people who make the film, and involving them in the simulacra of like doing the traumatic thing again, but not for real, I think is like, you're kind of inflicting trauma on those people or something. And I think that there's something in this game about how making art that's serious and that deals with heavy topics is something that is inherently like cuts a piece of flesh off of you and throws it away to the wind, and that's how like real impactful art is made. So yeah, I don't know, in a way it felt like it was talking about creativity and art as a sort of religious act. Like, to me it felt divorced from religion as like a codified list of laws and mythology, and more so the overriding themes of religion sort of like transposed onto the idea of art, that art is like a sacred act, but that is not necessarily a good or worthwhile or like, you know, rainbows and sunshine kind of thing.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything Jeremy was saying. The idea of art being this like beautiful thing that you produce, but also it takes so much out of you. I think the game kind of really drives that home. The final moments, which I will not spoil, are like the penultimate conclusion of that concept. And by final moments, I mean like when you get the credits, there's probably way more game after you finish the game, depending on how much you want to see. But the way that it made me feel at the end was like, I know so many people. Actually, you know what? There's this one documentary I watched called Dear Zachary. It's a documentary about this guy who's telling his friend's son a story about his father. He's like documenting that guy's life and everything. And he, at one point, has to describe the terrible events of that story. If you guys haven't seen that documentary, you should. It's depressing, really, but it's really good. Yeah. And he's describing the moment where he's describing the event, the truly traumatic event that happens in the documentary, and the emotion you can feel. When I got to the end of Immortality, I immediately thought of the crying he was doing while he was narrating this event. And I was like, man, I feel like everything that I've ever seen and loved has impacted me in that way, has been like so deep into my soul. And that's a theme of this game too, is like by the end is sort of like, I don't know. Can I say what the ending is? I didn't want to, but I kind of want to now.
If you feel like you need to.
Yeah. So the conclusion or like the credits moment of the game seems to happen randomly for everyone. I don't think it.
I think it's if you get those 10 secret tapes.
Oh, that's what it is.
There are 10 specific ones. It's not all of them. I think it might be all the ones where she talks to camera, I think. And then it basically does that thing where it reveals the menu. I could be wrong, but I know there is more stuff to unlock, depending on... there could be. Maybe you could slam dunk it. I'm not sure. But I imagine there's always a couple of extra tapes left by the time you're done.
Right. Yeah, there's at the very end of the game, the secret character who you've been playing as this whole time, who's been pretending to be Man Engage's character, she sort of takes over the screen and just sits there and looks at you. And then she goes, I'll be with you now forever, right? Something like that.
She gets set on fire, which is the...
Well,
and then
the character,
yeah.
But then, like, the final moment is, like she says, I'll be with you forever. And when that happened, I was like, oh, that's a cool ending. And then a week later, I was like, man, this game, oh, man. Like, that's what Dear Zachary, I think, did to me. That's what so many films that I, like, love deeply have done to me, where it's like, I feel like this story, this person, this creator, the thing they were trying to get across is going to be with me forever. And, like, that was the goal of this character in this game, but also, like, how much of that was Sam Barlow's goal? Does he even want to do that? Like, I was like, man, I don't know. That just made me think so much, so deeply about all the stuff that I really love.
It's funny because I feel like that ending is meant to imply sort of two things. Like, one, that this game was a medium in the same way that the movies are a way for her to be immortal, that this game is also a way to... And then also because I know the other... was able to basically come back. I'm not sure if you got this tape. So I feel like a lot of the stuff you unlock after the credits is the connective tissue between each movie, where you learn that the Ambrosio Project tapes that movie was never released, and then it's sort of those cans were then found by... or were given on the guy's deathbed, the director's deathbed, were given to someone else, that she ends up killing the other by shooting the guy in the chest. But he comes back and is inhabiting the other woman in the last movie because she watched the footage of him.
Yeah.
And so by watching the footage, even if you get set on fire, because she said there's all these ways you can kill us. Fire seems to do it, she says. So fire kills them, but by watching the footage, they come back. So by watching her immolate herself, I think she is now inside of you. That's the implication.
Yeah, the literal thing they were trying to get across was cool. Yeah,
but also I hear what you say. Yeah. Like the subtext of that is also like, we're all here chatting about the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's funny that you brought up the sort of Christian themes, because I think a lot of the games that talk about Christianity and religion this year especially, but just in general, are kind of like taking that and turning it on its head, where it's like, it's like, oh, you think, Jesus is love? What if Jesus is like Lovecraftian? What if Jesus love is like a horrifying thing? And I feel like this game is doing that for art, where it's like, what if a creator making a piece of art and then getting you to watch it isn't about you like sharing in their experiences? What if it's about them impregnating you with this like parasitic presence of them, and now they live inside your head? That like the only way that someone can preserve their legacy is by making sure nobody forgets them. Right. And so you're essentially by consuming someone's art, you're being inflicted with the parasitic memory of that person. They're becoming a passenger, and they're living rent free in your head.
No, they've got a condo.
But I don't know. There's something, because we usually think about that as a good thing, where it's like, oh man, I saw like this movie and it really like touched me. It'll stay with me forever. And this is like, oh my God, I saw all these movies and they'll like stay inside me forever. I can't get them out.
Yeah, there's so many different like ways to talk about it and enjoy it. I think that's what's so fun about it as well. And I just think that story that is interesting. Like, I was interested in what the fuck's going on, like what's the connection between these characters, and then once I figured it out, I wanted to know how it ended and what was the eventual. Like, I was like, the one is this like terrifying thing that you don't want to see, and then by the end of the movie, you're like empathizing with it. Like you want it to succeed. You know what I mean? Like it's really it's really something special, and I can't say enough about it. Not I mentioned Manon. I'm not sure, is it Gage, because I know she's French, or French American. Manon, and then Gage, whatever. Apologies if she's watching this. And then the lady who plays the other, which is a Charlotte Molin. And all of them, Timothy Lee DePriest, they all have names that I can't pronounce, who plays the other. He looks so striking. They're all they're all great. Like, one of my favorite guys he's so well cast, is the guy in the last movie, the like billionaire guy.
Oh, yeah.
His depiction in the movie, and also his depiction off set of just this like shithead, is so good. He is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, he he reminded me so much of a David Lynch character that I had to look it up to see if they were the same actor. But in Mulholland Drive, very early in Mulholland Drive, when the I can't remember the name of the character, but the young blonde woman who's the protagonist gets to Hollywood and has like her casting moment with this weird like sleazy director or producer, and he's just this like really weird lecherous older man. It was the exact. There was so many like the other thing about this game is it's just littered with homage. If you like movies,
right.
If you like Mulholland Drive, the Double Life of Veronique, Black Narcissus, like there's so many classic movies are directly referenced in
some
this.
Giallo we've not watched that is like
100%.
dripping all over Ambrosio.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, just like if you love movies, this is the game for you.
Yeah. All right, Immortality. We've talked about it for like 40 minutes. We got 4 or 5 games to cover today.
Can I recommend a game really quick before we move on? If you liked Immortality and you want to play a smaller game that is kind of similar vibes and thematically similar, play Who's Lila.
Okay.
Yeah,
Steam?
Incredible game. It's on Steam.
Behind
Yeah.
it. It's in my cart.
Is it new?
It came out this year or last year. I played it after we did GOTY list, and I would have been a contender. It's really, really cool.
Who's Lila? There we go. Who's Lila?
Wow.
Okay, let's jump on to a new game. I forget. We'll do the awards at the end. Let's do one that's gonna not take super long. Let's do Weird West, because I feel like maybe that's the one that the group has not. I know we all completed Immortality. I think I'm the only one that's completed Weird West. How far has everyone else gotten, Frank?
I completed the Bounty Hunter, the first quest or whatever, and now I started the Pigman, and my thought was, oh, this game should have started here. Holy crap, this is cool. Like, this is up my alley. So, I don't know, maybe 5 hours?
Pigman!
Yeah.
Love that song.
So I played maybe 4 to 5 hours, and I felt like I was playing the game wrong because I spent so much time as the bounty hunter trying to like uncover the whole map, visit every location, and I was like, wait a minute, once like you told me that there's like more stories to unlock, like let me just get to the next part, and then that's where I'm at, and I'm like, oh, there's a lot more here.
Nice. Jeremy, how far did you get?
I probably played 2 to 3 hours at the most. It's funny. I had played a little bit of this game back in the day, and it kind of didn't click with me. And so I revisited it for this, and I started the game from the beginning because I wasn't that far in, and it really, really clicked this time. But I kind of started it like only in the last couple of days. So yeah, and I'm still in the first character because I was kind of seeing how much the game would let me get away with in terms of just going sandbox on the map.
Nice. And what about you, Jesse?
I played the first handful of hours a while ago, and then I came back, played another hour or two. I did not finish the Bounty Hunter section because, like Frank, I thought, hey, I'll go do all this stuff everywhere and wasted all my time. But yeah, no, it's a good time. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. I think that's one of the biggest issues that the game has is that the format of it is so unique or bespoke that it's like, at least in a game like another immersive sim that's like a first-person game, you sort of understand that it'll be level-based, or I'll unlock other parts of this ship or this map or whatever it is, and I'll get upgrades and all this sort of stuff. Whereas when you play this game, there's no signal to you that you are going to end with this character and then start with another character. I think it's a byproduct of the fact that the game, and we covered this in our episode of Developer Breakdown, check it out on Noclip Crew, youtube.com/ /@NoclipCrew, because now they have @ handles on YouTube. It was originally going to be a sort of roguelike where every time you died, you got a new character. So it was kind of maybe stemming off the back of that. But yeah, the game is split into 5 different, I forget what the terminology they use, like adventures or something like that. The first of which is a bounty hunter, and then at a certain point, you stop basically possessing that bounty hunter. You are sort of a character at the start of the game who's kind of like divorced from the world slightly, and then you sort of inhabit the bounty hunter right at the as her, like, I think it's her son and husband are slaughtered. Is that right? I think at the start of the game. And then there's a sort of an inciting incident in the local town, and then you're basically sent off on your way to try and avenge those people. There's like random events you meet on the overworld map. You'll bump into stuff. You'll have like weird witches asking you to like not open a box. She'll just hand you a box and it'll go in your inventory and she'll be like, don't open the box. And you're like, all right, I could save scum this, I guess, but I'm not going to because I think this game is watching everything I'm doing. I'm not sure. And then, you can go do optional missions on this overworld map, or you can go to, you have to sort of travel between towns. So when you do that, sometimes you go off in another direction, or you run out of resources and you have to go do something else. And it's quite a large map because it sort of shows you, and there's a lot of fog of war. So at the start, I think you're kind of not quite sure, oh, should I fill out this map? How much should I be doing of the main story? Yada, yada, yada. Jesse, first of all, what did you make of the game? What things did you like about it, or what reasons, I guess? Because I'm the sort of one that mostly pushed for this game a couple of weeks ago. I'm interested in what other people got out of it.
Yeah, so when the game launched, we talked about it a little bit on the pod, and I mentioned how I think this has the sheen of an Arcane game. You can see, obviously, Raphael got a bunch of people from Arcane to come over and work on this. You can see it in the portraits, you can see it in the UI, the slickness of it. Everything feels really good to interact with, which is always really nice, and I appreciate that. But I think the thing that I like about Weird West, and the reason I'd want to come back and play more of it, is it is a game for people who like immersive sims. And when I say that, I don't mean for people who enjoyed Dishonored or for people who enjoyed Prey. I mean, like, you had to like immersive sims at like a base level. If you played Dishonored 1 and you didn't like try to murder people in interesting ways, and you were just like, this is my objective, I'm going to go do it, I don't think you're going to get everything out of Weird West. I think that's something that Raphael and you mentioned in the developer breakdown episode. But to illustrate my point, there's like a mission fairly early on. I know I'm not that far, where you're looking for your husband, and it turns out that the mayor of this town or whatever, or like this rich guy basically who has a house that you go to because you're trying to figure out where your husband is, and he kind of knows, but he wants you to go get a deed from this other place. He's like, go get me the deed. And I was like, oh, sure. But if you're a person who's played immersive sims, when you get to that house, your first thought probably isn't, okay, I'll go do the objective. Your first thought is, I got to adventure around. There's got to be something. There must be a way for me to like trick this guy. And so you look around and you find stuff, and there's like a key to a cellar, and you're like, where's the cellar? And you go and you're like, that's what's in the cellar. And then you can completely skip a whole mission.
I didn't see any of
just
the cellar
looking
stuff.
around.
This is awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so like you jump on these roofs and you jump onto this guy's balcony, and you go in, you have to like break a window, or you have to like open a window, and you can use if you have a follower, which I had, you can use the follower to distract the guards, sort of, and like they'll like follow him around. So you go in the window, you go in there, you get the key, and then you open the cellar, and then in the cellar there's a prisoner who is from the place the mayor wanted to send you, and then you tell the mayor about the person in the prison, and he just tells you about your husband. It's like,
you're kidding.
Dude, like that's what I love about video games. No, that's really how it happens. You don't have to do any of that.
You just completely didn't have to. That's amazing.
No. Yeah. I didn't know anything about I looked it up after. I was like, oh my God, there's so much stuff I skipped.
Okay,
by
so
just
now we all have
around.
to. So my one was, I went to the guys to the farm, and I was like, there's got to be someone, because this mayor is such a shithead. You're just like, I just want to shoot the guy. Like, I just don't. I don't care. And I think I forget if I did shoot him in the end of the mayor, but I went to the place, and they were like there was something back and forth where they're like, if you do this for us, then we'll do this. And then, I was like, oh fuck, this is going to be like a never ending quest. So I just waited until it was like nighttime, I think, when I arrived, and then they were all in the house. So I just waited until the morning, and then I snuck into the house when they were out doing their work, and like went up and found, I think I had a lockpick or something, but I just found the deed in one of their like bedroom lockers, and just went back to the bank, and so did it like without killing anyone or any of that sort of stuff. But what's great is that when you come back, later on, because when you get to the next adventure, all the stuff that you've done has like actualized. So like the deed has now been, those guys are out of there. like I know there's loads of other stuff that happens that all sort of gets done as well. I forget if I feel like the guy didn't tell me enough about my husband, so I shot him, or he like wouldn't. And I shot him, and then I had to figure out some other way of getting the information. I totally forget. Jeremy, how did you do that, or was there any other missions that popped up to you?
Well, so I basically got up to that point and haven't gotten past that because I spent so much time in the beginning just exploring the map.
That's like the first mission. That's so funny. There is so much to do, though.
Yeah, no, I got to that, and then I did the first mission where you like go to the Stillwater's place with the siren who's running them, and did that in the most stealthy way possible. And like I spent probably half of my 3 hours playing this game on that one mission because I was stealthing around and trying different approaches. And after doing that whole mission incredibly stealthily, I loaded a separate save and was like, how can I just like go in guns blazing? Like, how does this game respond to different playstyles? And I swear to God, I probably spent like 2/3 of my playtime in stealth mode and 1/3 of it in Hotline Miami mode.
Nice.
So and the
throwing dynamite like a crazy
literally
motherfucker.
So the two bounty missions that you need to do to get money. I mean, you can get money anyway, but you need to like give $250 to the relay guy to like decrypt a message. I was
or you can break in like I did.
Oh shit!
Wait till nighttime. I had to go in during the day and mess with him and open a window and then come back at nighttime. And then
nice.
Yeah, but it was hard.
So I didn't even think of that because I was so eager to go explore the map. So I just took the bounties, and before I did them, I went and just like found a bunch of little side locations and did stuff. But when I got those bounties is when I switched to Hotline Miami mode. And let me tell you, this game is very fun as just like a chaos mode shooter. And yeah, I was just, and it was baffling too because I spent so long stealthing around the first mission and just seeing every little bit of it because I mean, that's what I enjoyed about Dishonored 2 was replaying missions and just seeing all the things I missed and seeing how all of those threads connect to each other and being like, oh my God, I could have like gone up there and there's a window up there that you can only get to through the outside if you like climb the pipe but that is like right above this thing. So I spent most of my playtime just appreciating one mission from as many angles as possible. So yeah, but the guns blazing was fun. Just running up to a bounty, finishing it in 2 seconds because I threw dynamite in the window and then just leaving. But yeah, I feel like if I played the rest of that game, I would miss so much that I don't know. But
so what I think is really interesting about the game once you get to all those different characters, because the first one, I think the bounty hunter is a very sort of like vanilla way of playing the game, and then each character you get afterwards is sort of increasingly eccentric. The pigman, for instance, he can get health back by eating bodies, and also he can like I forgot I haven't played this game in like 6 months because I played like 50 hours the whole way through the first time and haven't gone back since because I'm waiting. I want to replay it again, but I want to give it enough time. But I think only certain people can understand you as well. And also people are like mega racist to the pig man. They just don't want to have fucking anything to do with you. Stealth, I think, is harder. I forget. Later on, you get a Native American character who basically uses a bow and arrow and is like a real stealthy fucker. You get a magic character at a different stage as well. You have another character who can turn into a different type of beast if they want at a certain stage. And it totally transforms the way you play. And what I like about it is, like, for instance, at the start of the game, like, there's one character you go to a lot who's the sheriff of the main town you're in at the start. You can just kill her. Right at the start of the game, you can just kill her. Done.
Wow.
And the game will keep going. And she's with everyone. I had, in the fourth quest, I think I said this on the podcast, I had a situation where I just did not believe in what the characters were doing, and I ended up icing half of the people involved in it. There's one character who turns up a lot. So there's also like a sort of I feel like I don't really want to get into this because I'm genuinely going to spoil the game for you if I do. But obviously the opening of the game implies that there is something else going on that you're not quite sure about. You're sort of like, I think there's a character strapped to a table or something and they're talking to the character and there's these portraits on the wall. You during the game, you will run into characters that seem like they're sort of divorced from the reality, like the witch who shows you the box and stuff like that. Like, there's a couple of them are kind of a little bit more like ethereal or spooky or whatever. And there's this one guy who turns up a bunch who's just like a dude like he's just the quintessential guy who knows more than you, and it really annoyed me that he kept turning up and knowing more than me, so I just murdered him.
Oh my god!
and he's like a really important character for like unveiling what happens and all this sort of stuff. And like my decision to kill him came up in the end, and they were like, and there's like, so fuck. I wish I could. So what I would say is the thing I love about Weird West is that the bounty hunter mission is almost like the sort of vanilla version of the game, and then everything that happens afterwards is a sort of a mutation of the game that forces you to play a different way, and also really exposes just how much agency you have over the story. Like you can kill anyone. I think the only people you can't kill, not sure if you can kill the witch. I think I might have tried to kill her. I forget. But pretty much everyone else, you can just kill them. Like the mayor at the start, you can kill him. I think he turns up for the whole game. And there's like whole parts of the game that will change as a result of that. Like the balance of power in the West will shift a certain way, so that by the time you get to the fourth mission, it's actually like different. All this stuff is different. It's really something else. And the amount of like it's like the whole like Ken Levine narrative Legos thing people talked about, or like, you know, the problem in Emergent Sims is that they have that cone that opens up and then it tightens near the end. And you know, if you guys, I feel like I want you guys to play it and complete it and not have the ending spoiled, so I won't do it here. If we ever did a spoiler cast, we could talk about the ending of that game, but it's the best ending to an immersive sim I've ever experienced. I don't want to oversell it, but I think like it totally, everything makes sense, what you were doing makes sense, and all the choices and all the things that you were doing, that some of which you were probably keeping an eye of and some of which you really weren't, is really something else. And I just loved I loved fucking around in that world. Like one night I just said, I'm going to rob a bank. I'm going to figure out how to rob a bank. I had to like get some ropes made. I had to smash a window. I had to figure out how to jump on top of the bank, smash it in. I had to like put some guards to sleep. I had to, you know, go in and get to the vault room. There's like guys in there. Like, and then you do it and you just get all this money. Or you can go and like sell a bunch of stuff to one of the stores and then just rob the store that night and get your money back. Like there's all these, like there's a whole thing with, who is it? There's like an undertaker you can do weird stuff with. Like you can sell bodies to him. There's like all this crazy stuff you can do. There's all these weird like mutations and diversions that are in the game once you figure them out. Like what was it? I heard what he talked about. There's a zombie thing that happens every once in a while, and you can, if you buried your son accidentally, the son can come back as a zombie.
Yeah, the plague
if you don't
event
bury
thing,
him right. Like there's all these like weird. You can dig up bodies just for fun. There's ghosts in the game, and you can figure out which ghosts, what plot they're in, and what went wrong. You dig them up, and you find a note, and then you can like figure out the reason why they're sad and fix their thing for that. There's all this, just there's so much weird shit in this game that is like very cool and emergent and wild. And yeah, it, like Jesse said, I think it's the type of game, if you just play it sort of what you see is what you get, you probably don't get as much out of it. You really have to play it mindfully, kind of,
because you have to be in the mindset. You have to know that there were other things that could have happened. Like, if you just go into it thinking this is the objective, this is how I solve the objective, instead of thinking, like, you know, like I said with my description of the that one quest, like you have to think there has to be a way to trick this guy, and then like I find a cellar key, there's got to be a cellar key. Like you have to be able to think out, not just outside of the box. You have to consider that there are other boxes that exist even.
Right.
It's such a weird way of playing games and such a weird way of making games. Thank you to Rafael Colantonio for making this the one thing he's going to do for his whole career. Shout outs to him.
Yeah, for making immersive sims over and over. It's like, imagine if you played Fallout and like if you killed the character, it didn't just kill the quest line. Because you know you do that. You kill a character, it goes block, and then that quest is gone. You failed it, and these ones won't ever turn up. Whereas this game was like, nah, we got you. Don't worry about it. What do you think happened? Because that's probably what happened. What happens now? Yeah.
That's the funny thing. I feel like I only learned to like immersive sims in the last probably 5 or 6 years. It was just kind of a genre that didn't click with me because I always associate it with stealth, and I don't particularly like stealth games. But I think the thing that clicked for me that made me really appreciate these games is that they're almost it's like almost the best way to appreciate an immersive sim is after you've played it to understand all of the other things that could have happened. But I feel like once you've had that experience of playing one of those games and then realizing that you got one particular experience that's so different than all of these other permutations, I feel like taking that forward and then applying that mentality to other immersive sims is the thing that made them click for me. Because it, like Jesse's saying, it makes you think about like reading the design of the game in a way where it's like, okay, I think the game is trying to funnel me towards this, but can I like pull myself out of the current of this river and like go up onto the shore and do this instead? And I feel like immersive sims are special because in a more, you know, in like a kind of like AAA action adventure game, you would expect that like, oh, I try to go off the path and there's an invisible wall, or the game doesn't let you do that because it's like you can't design that many different kind of tendrils of the story going different directions. But games like Weird West are just like, it's just letting you go any direction you want and then accommodating that, and I think that's so special. And I again, like Immortality, designing a game with this incredible web of causality is just, I don't know how the fuck people do this.
The stories are great too. The Pigman story is when you figure out, because he doesn't know who he is, he kind of wakes up as the Pigman and doesn't know who he is, and they are all really good, like Aesop's fables. Like I think the first one is a little bit vanilla, like I said, but the other ones are very interesting. Like there's the Native American character. It straight up says at the start, this was a real tribe, and this thing kind of like happened to them a little, you know, just in terms of like what happened with their land and all that sort of stuff. They sort of like signal that. They're obviously like all the, you know, magic shit's not here, but like this is all based on, you know, and there's very interesting sort of like moral questions about what's going on there. The Pigman one is straight up like Twilight Zone episode. It's like, oh, that's good. Like when you realize what actually was going on. And yeah, fuck, it's so hard. It's like the stuff that I really want to talk about, like all of those, I can't say it. The stories are really good, and yeah, people should just fucking play Weird West. Just stop listening to me, and it's cult classic material all over it. I'm not sure how well it's sold. They've added a bunch of stuff to it. There's like mod support now, so you can play it in first person, which is very funny.
Very good.
I think this is the type of game. Yeah, if you like Jesse and Jeremy were saying, if you like immersive sims, this thing will pay you back in spades, and it's really something special. I'm very excited. I think over the Christmas break, I'm gonna roll my second playthrough of it, because it's a game that's designed to be fucked with. Like you're supposed to fuck with it. It's like it's narrative sandbox. It's like I can't even say it. It's so good. Play Weird West.
I did want to add. I tried it at launch. It was on Game Pass, which was cool. Bounced off it when I tried it like the last few days. They added a new aiming mode because I'm playing on controller. I forget what they call it, experimental, but that makes the game so much easier to play on controller. Right. Where you hold L and it's just right in front of you, and you kind of can just, I don't know. It makes it more over the shoulder, third person traditional shooting a little bit. Even it's still camera angle is still isometric or over the shoulder, but
that's cool.
I like it, and also it scratches that itch because I love Red Dead Redemption 2, but that is such a massive, like, kind of sluggish. It's great, but it's a hard game to like pick up and play. Weird West is very much more arcadey. Every combat encounter is just this nice little map, and yeah, you can chuck dynamite. I totally forgot playing yesterday that you could stealth. I never do stealth. I was like, oh, I can knock people out. Oh my god! Instead, every encounter is I just go crazy. I like hiring bounty guards to help you out. So like, it is a fun game, and I learned how to play it, and so when I started Pigman, I immediately went to my previous partner, recruited them, but then took all their equipment and loot, and I was like, oh, now I have good guns? Yeah. Oh, so now I feel like way over-leveled and confident, and now I can mess with the systems.
The first time you do that, where you go back and meet one of your past selves, because, you go to the bounty hunter, and, you can recruit them, and then they're just, like, one of your posse. And, you get all their stuff. You just unload their inventory, and, like, you're like, hey, we're in the money, guys. So, we got all the weapons and everything. And then there's a great like secret moral system that's in there too that does a lot of like, if you help people out, for instance, sometimes they'll turn up, kind of like in Fallout, you could do the whole, what is it, Stranger in New Vegas. There was like a perk for like, a stranger would turn up and help. If you're in a fight that's kind of going south, you'll have one of those people turn up. Yeah. They'll just go so like, cool. Hey, what's up? I'm here to help. And then you're like, who are you again? Oh yeah, I like saved your sister from falling down a well or something. I don't know, whatever.
I had one of those moments pop of like, because I decided to experiment after the first mission with a bunch of different playstyle approaches. I had someone I helped in the first kind of big mission with the Stillwaters come back immediately, and the bark line that popped for them was like, I was so inspired by you saving me that I like learned how to fight, and now I'm gonna fight for you. And I was like, damn, you learned that was like 5 minutes ago.
The opposite also happens. Sometimes there are like sort of you encounter like arguments, I guess, and you can sort of do nothing or side with somebody if you want, and it could be like, you know, there's a bunch of cowboys holding up like a trailer, and you want to help them, or you don't and you want to split the bounty with the cowboys or whatever. You can do nothing, you can stand back. But like sometimes if you do that, or if you're in a big fight, if you're clearing out a base or something and one of them runs away and gets away, you'll see like somebody's fleeing. They'll come back too, and to screw with you with like a posse. So there's loads of cool little bits like that as well.
Yeah, this game's awesome. I'm totally gonna play the rest of this game. It really
before we move
the
on,
last couple days.
Yeah,
I have one recommendation. If you play Weird West and you haven't played it before, get into a firefight and put on the firefight music from Django Unchained. You're like, am I wrong? Because I want to get it on till I die. And you're just doing slow-mo dives. Trust me, it makes the game 100 times better. And it's already
got some
really
great
good.
like Max Payne diving moments, and like
It really does.
Yeah, like blowing up. Like I talked about the whole, you put the corn in the corn in the barrel and then set the barrel on fire, and the barrel and the corn cooks. There's a lot of that
in the
stuff
bottom
going
of the
on
sea
as well. It's good, yeah. A lot of fire propagation. It's good shit. Okay, you know what? Let's press on and do one more before the break, because I feel like we can pull this off. Let's do Neon White. I feel like that might be the one that has the least to talk about. Maybe, I'm not sure.
Wrong.
Another game that I had not played enough of. I think it was level 6 where like I was like, all right, okay, I got it. Mission 6, because it had that fucking really good music, and you were just like, I think it was the one where you were doing the green one to like go straight down or whatever.
Oh, doing the slam, yeah.
Neon White. Jesse, explain Neon White and tell us why it's rad.
Gladly. Neon White is a first-person speed-running game where you're playing as Steve Bloom as an anime character, running around through heaven after you have died and gone there, and you are an agent for these angels murdering demons in heaven. It is this gorgeous, aesthetically pleasing, like I think Frank described it as a Dreamcast cover video game where you're just running around in these white, well, initially anyways, running around these white pillared endless ocean mirror finish like lakes with beautiful clouds in the skies, and you're basically just trying to go as quickly as you can from the beginning of a level to the end of the level while also killing all of the demons inside of it. You have these cards, which are your weapons that work as guns, but they have two purposes. So you shoot them as guns, and each one has a different thing. Some of them are pistols, some of them are like machine guns, some of them are rocket launchers eventually, which is very cool. And then they have secondary actions. So they can be a jump, or they can be a slam, or like a fireball dash forward, or a grappling hook. Every game should have a grappling hook, including Tetris. That's my opinion.
It's like a discard, isn't it? It's like you get to use it once, kind of.
Yeah, so once you've used the alternative ability, the card goes away. So you kind of have to balance what cards you're getting in what order. You can also only hold 3 cards, which limits in what way you can do things. So the thing that I think makes Neon White so good, and the reason it's on my Game of the Year list, is it's really a multiplayer game. You can have fun with Neon White on its own, but if you have friends that are also playing this game, the leaderboard kind of drives you in this great direction. I think most games do the sort of thing that have leaderboards. Will do this thing where you get rankings and you get medals based on how quickly you got through it or what your time is. And Neon White doesn't do anything particularly different about it, but it's an incredibly approachable speedrunning game. It doesn't require you to have the sort of predisposition to playing a speedrunning style game, because it's also just kind of fun on its own, even if you're not good at going quickly through it. Shooting things, jumping around, performing the individual actions to get to the end of each level is just fun on its own. And then if you have friends who are really into that sort of thing, you're going to be sitting there and playing this game like for 6 hours straight, trying to go 1 millisecond faster than you previously went. It's hilarious. It is probably the most fun. I've made so many friends off the back of Neon White that it's kind of hard for me to not push for it to be my favorite game of the year, because like
What, just like
whenever
strangers on the leaderboard, or
Well, strange on the leaderboard, but also like people from Noclip have been like fans, listeners have been messaging me being like, hey, like I want to beat your times. None of them have, but they all keep messaging me trying to best me, but they can't. And it's been so much fun. Like there's people that I talk to regularly now who I met through that, or people who like on Twitter would see my post and they're like, I could beat that, and they can't. And now we talk all the time. It's great. It's so cool. It is such a community focused game, despite being something that you could totally play on your own and still have a good time. Yeah. And the second half of Neon White is a narrative that I don't think most people are going to end up liking. It is like this cringy anime inspired Danganronpa, I think is how people describe it. I haven't played those games, but it's very similar to Danganronpa. And it's just, I don't know. I like it. I think it's really fun. Frank, you are the kind of person that I could see enjoying this sort of thing, and you also had Neon White on there. What are your thoughts on the narrative of Neon White and the story and the characters?
I do think like in the Noclip crew, like the interview that you did, where like they admitted like it is kind of cheesy, but you can't not make an anime game and not have it be cheesy. So like I could take it in bursts, like because a lot of that dialogue story stuff happens in like the heaven overworld, but I'm always eager to like do the side missions by giving gifts or just jump into the combat. But like, so there have been times where I've just skipped some dialogue. Okay, let me just get to the thing. But then there's times where I enjoy it. Like I love the like, I don't know. To me, she looks like a cat girl. There's that Violet is her name.
Yeah, Violet.
And all of the dialogue is so like cute and flirty and teasy. And it's like, it also reminds me of Persona. You have the yellow sporty boy, the like macho dude, and then the other like. It's I'm smiling talking about it. But I'm definitely much more hooked on the gameplay loop. And the reason I like this game is like we've talked about also, it reminds me of like Counter-Strike Surf. You're gliding through with machine guns and shooting stuff. But like I get like I don't know. I don't like playing games competitively, like online multiplayer shooters. If you're playing with friends, it's fun, but it'll tip to a point where it's just like frustrating. I don't like it. With Neon White, it's so like you still get that juice of like those like crazy multiplayer shooters like Counter-Strike, but it's solo. You're only competing against yourself in the game, and then once you pass that level, then the leaderboards. And I always like stuff like that, whether it's Marble Blast Ultra, Super Meat Boy, or even something like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, where it's like, okay, let me just get into this flow state. And like, where every time you mess up, you know exactly why you messed up, and you have to best it. And then you start remembering like the chain of like, okay, I'm going to use my rifle to propel myself, stomp down, get it. And then like, if I get stuck, I would message a friend or go on YouTube and look up the solution. It's like the speedrunning stuff where, oh my gosh, you can completely avoid this massive thing. And it's so fun, like every stage learning it and then nailing the line and then mastering it and then moving on and then humbling yourself again. So like, and again, the soundtrack, the blue aesthetics of it, like it's such a rush of like, like why I love video games. It's that like it's just as colorful and explosive and sounds just as delicious as like Street Fighter 2 did for me as a kid. It's just like, what is this drug? I want it all. So I really do think it's an achievement. I love games like that. Like I always use the terms arcadey. I want something I can pick up, put down. Like even right before we recorded, I was trying to freshen myself up. I spent like 30 minutes and I did 2 levels, and it was like, oh my gosh, I was like so hyper coming off of it. So Neon White's good. It is so good on a keyboard too, especially like with a mechanical keyboard where every little WASD click is so important to your flow mid-air and shifting directions. So because I think Danny, we recommended this to you over the summer, but you only had the Steam Deck, so I don't think it had the chance to like sing.
I played it on Steam Deck first, and I was immediately like, "This is a bad idea." Like some games like Portal are like fine because they have a little bit of aim assist, whereas this is 100% had that same Counter-Strike surf map thing of I need to be able to turn 270 degrees in a second on this one, or be able to look somewhere quickly. Even you know what I mean. And I love that because I'm the leaderboard stuff is awesome. What I like about it as well is before you get to leaderboard, there's sort of like bronze, silver, whatever, gold, and then there's like a platinum or something one above that. So those are the first sort of indication that you can go faster. No, you can go faster, and then there's like there's the way to do it as we have presented it, and then there's the way to do it. There's a secret other way to do this level that we have put in this game. And I'm sure there are lots that they didn't put in the game that people have found. But because there is the requirement to also kill all the baddies, which I think is really, really important, because without that, you could end up like having ridiculous speed runs where you just like you skip everything in the level, but because you have to kill all of them, it ends up being this really interesting thing where sometimes you're just searching for sight lines. Like if you've got the right gun, which you know is a hit scan weapon, if you can see something that's super far away, or what I used to do is that there are some levels where you can actually trigger ones ahead of time because like the game keeps layering in all these different things. There's like now there are, barrels that you can use to kill enemies, or they don't kill you, so you can just use them to vault in the air. Or there are now these like protective bubbles around these other enemies, but if you go through them, it'll kill the enemies that are in them. And all these other like weird sort of like special cases that exist. And then it's the typical thing of like it layers in a couple of them on top of each other, and then suddenly like, you're sort of on level, whatever, mission 13, and you're like, patting your head and rubbing your stomach or whatever at the same time as like dancing on one foot. You're able to do it all because you've been taught how to do the various different like languages of discard piles, or this and then this and this combination and this, and so there's just such levels of mastery to it that just make it really fun. It really feels like Hotline Miami to me. It's that same like fail fast thing of like get in, die, all right, whatever, try it again this time. Try it again this time. I can do it better. That was a good run, but I can make it look better. Do it again. And the music obviously helps in that regard as well.
Yeah, I had not played this game until this past week, and I absolutely love it now. The narrative stuff I bounced off so fucking hard.
Amen.
Like it just did not click with me. I probably watched the first 3 or 4, and then I never watched a single line of dialogue after that again. Because I just wanted to get to.
But they add in that you can just hit F and it just skips it all.
Yeah, they give you a fast forward. They know no one's gonna like it.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. And it was good because the fast forward was also nice because I didn't, in case like a crazy catastrophic story moment happened, I wanted to be watching. But like if they were like, and this whole time it's been me, and the guy pulls the mask off, I would have stopped the fast forward and be like, wait, what's this? Yeah. But the rest of it was just kind of like, she's flirting with him, and then he's flirting with her, but then she doesn't like him, and it's like, all right, I've seen anime, I know how anime is.
Guys,
so I just fast forwarded all that, but it did anime good sometimes. Yeah, but I just like, God, it's just like it's CS Surf meets Super Meat Boy is what this game is, and it's so fucking good. I like the leaderboard thing is such a big part of it for me because at first it really is just about kind of like challenging yourself. But shout outs to Mary Kish of Twitch, who we used to work with at GameSpot, because she's my Steam friend, and holy shit, she's got some impressive times on this game. And so I would beat a level and I'd get gold or ace, and then I'd see the leaderboard, and I had like her and a couple of their friends, and their times would be so much better than mine, even though I had ace, that I was like, there's something I'm missing. There's another layer to this level that I'm not seeing. And like we were talking about with Weird West, where it's kind of like you're trying to get into harmony, you're trying to like resonate with the design intention of a level where you're like perfectly like, okay, this is how I'm supposed to play this is what was intended, but there's multiple versions of that. I really feel like this game, there's like the obvious, you go this way and then you get the silver or gold, and then there's like but you're totally missing this skip here. And I just think it's brilliant that these levels are they're so well designed in that layered way where you can enjoy them differently, and it really does feel like, even though it's a little 30-second loop of doing this level over and over and over, tightening that loop and finding little ways to refine it is such a satisfying multi-layered experience. It was weird. I think the weird metaphor that kept coming to my brain when I was playing this game is that I thought it would be potato chips, where it's like endlessly snackable, but instead it's like a weird boutique potato chip that tastes like a steak dinner, where it's like it's hard to communicate how satisfying these potato chips are or something. But I don't know. It's brilliant.
It's Takis.
For sure.
Like, man, the hot ones.
Yeah.
Ooh,
fire
big
crunch. I don't know. It's just I loved this game. It's out of the games that I've been catching up on for Game of the Year stuff, the most that I missed. This one clicked so hard for me. And it was so funny that the fact that I didn't like the narrative and still it clicked so hard. I was just like, I can throw away an entire portion of this game and still love it this much.
Yeah. I think the Meat Boy comparison is really good, and the sort of initial connection there is obviously like, oh, it's about like being fast and getting through fast and all that sort of stuff and getting to the end of a level. But the other thing it reminds me of is in Meat Boy, you just kind of feel cool all the time because you're doing shit that's like looks like it's hard, and in this game you are constantly just feeling fucking badass because you're just like flying through levels, jumping chasms of infinite like empty space, like these empty ass, you know what I mean? Like they made, like I can't imagine any other game that has this much open space except for like surf maps or like broken FPS game maps that just have all this open space for no reason, but it obviously makes sense because it's like heaven and all that sort of stuff. But you're like covering it or like launching yourself or like landing the thing right on the moment. It's like pinball. You're like constantly hitting the fucking button, the bang, the bing, the bong, the bang, you know, and it's so every moment feels cool as well. It's not just about hitting the end. You know what I mean? And being like looking at your time and feeling good. The actual moment to moment also feels badass, which I think is pretty cool. They're very forgiving with the hitboxes. They're very forgiving. Like when you stomp, you always hit everyone. It doesn't, you know, you don't just miss somebody. Like I think it kind of knows, it gets out of its way a lot. I bet there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes to just make sure that you're always sort of hitting the mark.
Totally, yeah. When I spoke to Ben about it, he was kind of describing this issue. So in the game, there's this moment near the end where you know how at the end of Titanfall 2 you get the auto pistol. This is how I describe it to everybody. You get the auto pistol at the end of Titanfall 2. It's the coolest weapon to get at the end of a game. I think the thing you get at the end of Neon White is cooler than the auto pistol.
I've not completed it yet.
Okay, I won't say it then. You need to, it. Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't.
Come on. It's not.
Just if you skip ahead.
It's not a huge spoiler or anything. It's just like a.
If you want to hear it spoiled, but I want to hear it. Yeah, go on.
So the final mechanic, the final thing you unlock is each sort of set of missions you unlock a new weapon. It's the rocket launcher eventually. You get the stomp. You get the fireball stuff. It's all very cool. The last thing you get is a big, and I think the last like three, like most anime, the last
we've got like
3
40
missions
seconds
is when
before
the story
people
gets
come
really
back.
Good. The weapon that you get at the end is the coolest thing is this book that you get that lets you teleport to enemies. So you're not like just moving quickly towards them anymore. Now if you see something, you go right to it. It is the most like game-changing thing. It's like I wish this was the whole game, was just this by the time you get it. It's very, very cool. And then when you're doing the missions, like you've been saying, kind of like the game gives you a secondary way to get through it. Like here's the hint. And I think that's part of the accessibility and why people end up liking this game, even though they don't like speedrunning games, is because you don't have to learn how to play speedrunning games. It kind of helps you along the way to sort of getting into that mindset, which is really cool. But that tool, there's a ton of like little bits of geometry that you can just ever so slightly frame perfect.
Oh, that's crazy.
Target between and like skip the whole level. It is great.
That's pretty cool.
And I'm telling you, because I've been fighting people for times, right? I had to go learn some of those, and just it's so cool. There's so many things about this that it's like, I want DLC. I was watching a different interview that somebody did with Ben about cards that never made it into the game, and one of them was like a shotgun that you would shoot to go backwards, and I'm like,
funny,
dude,
that's cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's cool.
I just want more Neon White. I want Neon White 2. I want Neon White DLC. I want an anime series. I want it all. And one more thing that you mentioned, the kind of religiosity that's coming up in 2022 games. This game has that in spades, especially by the end. There's a biblically accurate angel, which is very funny. But yeah, like the inner heaven is the Star of David, or in the shape of the Star of David. Like there's a tons of like religious imagery that you see in the extended interview that I did with Ben Esposito, which you can check on the Patreon.
Yeah.
We talk a little bit about that, and he sort of like very briefly mentions his own religion and how that kind of like came into the game. He doesn't explain it deeply, but he talks about that and how that is there in pieces. And I'm like, oh man, there's just so much going on in this game. It's very, very cool. I love Neon White so much. It is my favorite game of the year for sure.
Any final thoughts on Neon White, folks?
I just want to say that I think that the brilliance of the design of this game is the skill window. I think you can appreciate this game if you're not very good at it, and you can complete levels and get bronze, silver, or gold. And then I think that the amount of like refinement you can do to extend beyond that and push into like the top 100,000 times, the top 50,000, the top 10,000. I think that this game is kind of like a la carte. It lets you take a little bit, or it lets you just like, there was one level in particular that I just played for probably 45 minutes until I was in the top like 5,000 people in the world for it. So yeah, I think that's really brilliant and fun.
I do want to I want to compliment like just the game's again like look, design, aesthetic. I think of Persona and Atlas like as the top when it comes to just making menus and sounds and everything so presentable. And I feel like Neon White does a really good job of like even like the card design when you finish the level, your insight goes up, leaderboards like just making you feel good and like hip playing it. So I feel like they get pretty close to Atlas's charm, which is a huge compliment.
Yeah, especially for such a small team. Neon White, we will give it its award along with Immortalities and Weird Wests at the end of today's show. We'll be back in a second. We're just going to have a quick little water break. We'll be back in a hot minute talking about the last two games on this week's podcast, Citizen Sleeper and Signalis. See you then.
Oh, boy.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to Noclip's Game of the Year Extravaganza. I've had some people worried that the music's changed forever. This is just some Game of the Year stuff. Don't worry, this is just some Game of the Year
it's a good
musical
song,
vibes. It's just like, it's just, we just got to hype ourselves up a little bit because we're giving out awards here. Awards like Best Fang for Your Buck. We have two more games to talk about today before we give out the titles for the awards for this week's entries. We've just talked about Immortality, Weird West and Neon White, and now we're going to talk about Citizen Sleeper and Signalis. Let's start with Citizen Sleeper. This was the one game of all the games that I had on my backlog that I tried and tried and tried. I tried 4 times. It's me. It's not you. I just have trouble with like reading in general. Like I have a very bad attention span for reading. I listen to a lot of audiobooks over reading them. It's something to do with my brain. I don't know what it is, ADHD thing or if it's something else or I have no idea. But I find it so hard to commit to reading a lot. So for the same reason I've never completed Disco Elysium. So that's a good example of just how good a game can be, and I still won't get to enjoy it because I just suck at reading. Jeremy, you were championing this right from the off. Tell us about Citizen Sleeper and what makes it so special. I know yourself and Jesse did, but Jeremy, you go ahead first of all.
Citizen Sleeper is inspired by tabletop role-playing games. So I think that's sort of the frame of reference to understand what this game plays like. But it is a dystopian sci-fi narrative game where you are on a colony in space. You are sort of like an android person, and you are on the run from essentially a corporation that owns you. It is a game that is ostensibly about like a high space adventure, but practically in your day-to-day experience playing it is about just like making connections with people, making space community. It is a game where you roll dice at the beginning of every day, and then those dice, their numerical values, essentially are applied to different tasks that you do, whether that's earning a day's wage or making friends with someone or whatever you want to do. Those dice apply to everything. So sort of the loop of a day is getting all those dice, rolling them, and then applying the good ones to the tasks that you really want to do well at or that you need to do well at because some of them have essentially like failable pass-fail like skill checks. So yeah, and thematically it's a game about capitalism, about how we have to sell not only our time to make a living and have a food to eat and a place to sleep, but also we have to sell ourselves, our lives. That we're not only selling our times, but the very like essence of who we are. These pieces of our lives are what we're selling. So it is this very kind of like thematically profound, brilliant take on sci-fi that reminds me a lot of kind of like Philip K. Dick in a weird way. It's much more lovey-dovey than Philip K. Dick, but that's what it reminds me of, where the sci-fi is acting as a mirror for all of our ordinary everyday relationships to work and money and friendship and community.
Damn.
And it's fucking brilliant. And it's such a fun video game, and it is such a good story. It's absolutely one of the best games of this year. I wish it did have... Danny, Disco Elysium has voice acting now, so I think give it another shot. This does not. This is text-heavy. But yeah, I think it is written... If you are listening to this and you're someone who bounces off text-heavy games, though, I do think that the body of text you're served at any one time is kind of dense enough that it's not like I mentioned previously, Road Warden is an amazing game, but you walk into a tavern and here's like 6 pages about like, and then the wood was cherry wood and I could tell it was from the hills of Cherryland. This is not that. This is very dense and readable and snackable, but yeah, I think it's brilliant. I'm curious to hear what other people think of this game.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed really everything that Citizen Sleeper is doing narratively. I think it's something that really stuck out to me because because Citizen Sleeper has this thing to it where there's like a bunch of different people you can talk to, different like narrative threads that you can walk down, and each one sort of makes you answer a question about yourself and a question about this character and like what matters to you. It feels, I think, very similar to, we keep bringing it up, a Persona, in that each day in Persona, there's only like so many things you can do, only so many people you can talk to, only so many actions you can perform. Sometimes people aren't available. Citizen Sleeper does the same kind of thing. There's this woman who runs a bar, and you can go and you can befriend her and you can help her improve the bar. Or there's this ship at the end of this spaceship that you're on, or space vessel, I don't know words. And you go and you can work on the spaceship. And that's awesome. You meet this dad who's got this daughter, and you can follow that thread. And like just everywhere you go, everyone you interact with has these stories that developed over time. These little tiny vignettes of reality, these things that you want to see more of and require effort and require you to care about these strangers that you've randomly met, these fully realized individual characters that all you ever see of them is a still drawing. And the descriptions, their personality comes through so clearly, so perfectly in this way that you just want to see more of them. You want to hang out with them. There's this, particularly the first thing that really made me stick to Citizen Sleeper. There's this guy who runs a noodle shop, and you go and talk to him, and he tells you these stories, these personal stories, and he tells you about how, like, it's almost like talking to a calm Gordon Ramsay, how nicely he speaks about the food and the ingredients used to make it, and his life. And the first meal you have is super, I think it's free, if anything. And then the next one requires so much resources that are like so expensive. And I did everything I could to have another meal with this guy. Every character on this ship is just like this beautiful rendition of a real believable person, a real believable robot, in some cases. It's just, Citizen Sleeper's fucking good.
So it sounds like the reason people are high on the game is predominantly that it's really well written.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a huge part of the appeal of this game. In fact, it's not only well written, but well crafted. In a game like this, it would be so easy to have the good characters and the bad characters, but there's a character who's a bounty hunter that's threatening you, but they're kind of like a weird party boy who just wants to get drunk and cares less about work than they do about hedonism. And then this other one, I won't spoil like who it is or what the detail is, but there's a character you meet who I really, really liked, and then at some point they did something so fucking reprehensible to me that I just had to I stopped playing the game for a minute, and I was like, fuck, dude, that's like, I can't forgive you for this. Like, it destroyed my relationship with them. And it was a relationship that, you know, in this world where you're so alienated from everything and you're trying to find like new found family and community, to have one of those people who you found connection with do something awful was just like, fuck. Like, it just, I don't know. I couldn't think of a moment in another video game that had done that had made me love someone and then like have to burn that bridge. It felt so real.
I wanted to say I didn't become a Citizen Sleeper like believer until like 2 days ago, and I spent like, it was such an easy game to like focus on and get lost in, because to me it feels like reading an incredible comic book like Saga or like Descender or something like that, where it's like these grand sci-fi stories, but it's also like I also compare it to like Judge Dredd, where everyone's worn down by this hyper post-apocalyptic mega capitalism. But like, you can spend your ability rolls to just get resources, health, items. But it's like, no, I want to advance these storylines because you're genuinely hooked. And you can play a massive game like Cyberpunk or Fallout, but this cuts out all of the fluff of like combat or like straight up like you have to go trek across and loot. It's like, no, here's just the minimal systems, and every it's like you're constantly getting rewarded with just good content, like good game to consume. And the soundtrack is very like spacey and kind of relaxing. But then like there's times where you have to throw a dice roll. You have to like your body like that you inhabit. The condition worsens every day. So every, I don't know, say 10 cycles, you have to spend money to get a pill that rebuilds you. And so you have to make your choices like, oh crap, do I advance the storyline? Do I work? Do I steal from a farm to feed myself? And it's like, holy shit, these are very real world problems and conditions that everyone's going through. And like, So it was kind of a crazy thing to also play at the end of the year, where I am also like checking all these boxes in my head. It's like, do I work too much? Do I spend enough time caring for my friends? What am I doing? What am I doing for myself? And it's like, oh, this is a weird mirror to play right now, because it's all of these questions. It's also why I had to stop playing Disco Elysium, is it gave me like a panic attack and existential crisis.
Right.
There was one like screen, like, I don't know if this will hit if you haven't played it, whatever, but I screenshotted one little paragraph. There's this side quest you do for Lem and Mina, a space worker and her daughter, and they're trying to get off the colony so the daughter can have a better future. And you have an opportunity to use their ticket to escape, because you are being chased down by a bounty hunter
wow.
and his corporation. So ultimately, you have the choice, and you give your ticket away. And this is like the little closing of that story. As you watch Mina, you think about your future, about the future you might choose. You know one thing for certain, that future is on the eye. You no longer have any enthusiasm for being carried forward by the dreams of others, for grand futures that unfold like angelic wings across the horizon. The future is being made now, on the spinning ring, among its people and its systems. You are sure of that. And I read that and I was just
Don't
like...
make me cry on the podcast,
Yeah,
Frank.
dude, come on.
I saw that, I was like, oh my god, okay. And then there was a little achievement pop, but it was like, which to give me that dopamine, but like it was like, oh my god. And then it was like, no,
No profoundly like human moment can never not be improved by the sound of an achievement.
but it was like, and that was the tipping point where it was like, what the hell is this game? And then I did the bounty hunter mission where, yeah, this guy is like on you and trying to turn you in, and then all of a sudden it's like he's now blown his own debt to a bar, and you have to work to get him freed. And then his story has a really sad ending, and I'm like, oh my god. And then the other half of the game is you're mining mushrooms for like a commune, and I'm like, this is awesome.
yeah.
And like,
yeah.
And so now it's like, oh, I actually do want to rinse and play this and see every ending. Like, it's so beautiful, unique, but like, man, it's and then there's also a hacking, like half of the game you're also hacking, and you're getting chased by like Matrix Sentinels, but you can do a mission to get rid of the Sentinels and all this stuff, and it's like, damn, there's a lot here. And like, I was kind of, for part of it, was almost speed running through it, like, okay, let me just research this enough. But now that like I can rest and take my time with it, it's like, damn, it's really, really impressive.
Is it Game Pass special too?
It is on Game Pass.
Yeah, that's right. It is.
There you go. Game Pass. A lot of these games are on Game Pass. We should say.
Weird.
Is
Phil
Pentiment
Spencer
on
knows
Game
what
Pass?
it's. It is.
Yeah.
It's an
I think it's on-
Xbox
yeah.
published game. It's Obsidian.
Tunic.
Yes, Game
Yep.
Pass, baby.
That's
Signalis.
yeah. Signalis is
Damn.
Vampire Survivors.
It
I feel
is.
like
this is the Game Pass Awards, unfortunately.
No,
Whoops.
yeah. Is Cult of the Lamb on Game Pass?
No.
It's
No,
not
'cause
yet.
It's not on Xbox yet, is it?
I mean, it's on Xbox, but you have to pay, it was like
It is?
25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Monkey Island, yeah. I don't know. Is Neon White? No.
But Immortality
No.
is.
Yeah,
Immortality
is.
okay, there you
Yeah,
go.
Game
Okay.
Pass.
But
Game Pass, baby.
But yeah, to sum up my quick thing is like Jesse and Jeremy, they like brainy games. They like reading. I like reading, but not when it comes to video games. I want the guns and
Thanks.
shooty. But yeah, playing this.
We'll talk about Modern Warfare next week.
But yeah, Citizen Sleeper was like, damn, this is good, and like it scratches different part as Immortality. Immortality is like, that's like, I don't know, almost Tetris in your brain of shifting stuff, clicking. Citizen Sleeper's like, yeah, let me listen to the story, and then also just the real world. There's other thing it scratches for me is using your dice. Why I like Persona, it's like you only have so much limited time, but also if you don't take care of your body, you also can't do well for others. So it's like, I don't know, it's just holy shit, that hit me right now at this perfect time, and like, I don't know, it is a profound video game, and yeah, I want to read more and see of it. But even the like 4 hours I spent with it, it was like, holy crap, what the hell is this? So I am so happy to echo Jesse and Jeremy to say, like, yeah, please check out Citizen Sleeper. It took me.
How long is it again?
How long is it? 8 to 10 hours?
8 hours?
Six-
Eight
I think
hours,
I was
something
like 8 around
Yeah.
the time I finished it. I played.
Awesome.
The game has multiple different endings, and when you get an ending, you can take that ending and finish the game, or you can kind of like continue as if that ending didn't happen and see.
Oh,
everything.
cool. It's like a choose your own adventure book when you get to one of those
Yeah.
final pages too early and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I didn't like that. Yep.
It does account for that. I will say that I think that you are not missing out if you take one of the endings. I think if you get an ending and you think it feels like a good end to your story, you don't feel like you need to see the rest of the game. I don't think there. I don't know. If you want to see everything, that's totally fine too, and that's what I did. But I don't think you're. I think it's also cool to just take the ending and be like, that's how my story ended.
Yes.
Yeah, Frank, I'm so glad this game connected with you because
Yeah.
I think it's so good, and I think it does kind of come off like one of those games that's unapproachable because it's text heavy. But I think once you get into it, it really is just like it's like narrative sashimi. It's just like no frills, no like
good.
nothing.
That's good. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like
that's
a
awesome.
really good writer taking slices of narrative and feeding you ahi tuna.
I'm gonna try
No
it again.
rice.
I'm gonna try it
Hell
one
yeah.
more time.
Dude,
I'm gonna
please.
sit down sometime where I have just an hour and I'm gonna have nothing else to do. I'll delete all my other games. I'll give it a go. I need to get over that initial hump for sure.
And I'm happy I stuck with it because I tried looking up like a long play of it. I'm like, this game looks undiscernible. Like, what the hell is this? But no,
Yeah.
when you play it, it tutorializes it well. Just spend your dice rolls. You'll learn what works, what doesn't, and then I scour the map every day. Is there any new events? Okay, go to sleep, wake up, and it's the same way I play Persona.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
Citizen Sleeper. We'll be giving it its named award. Right after this, we have one other game to talk about, and it's one that Jeremy, I know for sure, is very excited to talk
all right.
about it.
It's pretty good.
Let's check in on our good friend Signalis. Jeremy, Signalis, the floor is yours.
Signalis. What is there to say about Signalis? It is a survival horror. It is a retro survival horror game. Presentation-wise, it looks more like Metal Gear Solid 1, but spiritually, mechanically, it is more Resident Evil meets Silent Hill. It is fucking brilliant. This is one of the greatest survival horror games ever made. It is, if you like the old Resident Evils or the old Silent Hill games, this is the perfect game for you. As someone who personally doesn't really connect with a lot of the more action-driven survival horror stuff, has an appreciation for things like Dead Space and a lot more of the like modern Resident Evil games, although I haven't played 7 and 8, so discount those from everything I'm saying. I think that this harkens back to what I like about survival horror as a genre. It's cerebral, it's weird, it's trippy, it's psychedelic, it's cosmic, and at the core of all of that, it's a love story, and not like a I love you so much, let's get together love story. It's like the universe will tear us apart and I'll do anything to get back to you, but not in like a romantic way, just in like a soul crushingly beautiful tragic way. And I don't know. I don't even know where to begin with this game because I loved it. This is my number one game of the year, far and away, heavily colored by the fact that I played Silent Hill 1 and 2 for the first time this year, and this is it's direct homage. If you play Silent Hill 2 again, you will see so many parallels. In fact, Jesse messaged me the other day and said you're playing Silent Hill 2, and it's just you're constantly going like, oh my god, that's that. Oh my god, that's that. And
Dude,
even
at one stage you're in a fucking room and just talking about Resident Evil references, and the fucking Moonlight Sonata starts.
oh
playing.
yeah, oh
Yeah.
totally, yeah. So
Like,
the save
they're
rooms,
very on their nose with some of these references.
So one of the puzzles, I won't spoil which one it is because I think this is a fun thing to discover, but one of the puzzles in the game is identical to a puzzle from Silent Hill 2. Another one of them is identical to a puzzle from, I think, Code Veronica, one of the Resident Evils.
Oh, cool.
So it is. Oh, and even when you hit the save point, the screen goes red, and that's exactly what happens in all the Silent Hill games. At the beginning of this game, you get the warning that says this game may contain depictions of images that are like considered cruel or brutal, something like that. I can't remember the wording of it. That's what happens at the beginning of every Silent Hill game. This game is just like it wears its homage on its sleeves, but it does its own thing so fucking hard that it is just like, it's just brilliant. Play this game
if you vibe, yeah, I feel like if you vibe with the style of this, I feel like people will know if the game is for them, and maybe not as well by just looking at the trailers as well. I feel like because it has such the vision it goes for, it nails.
Yeah.
But if you don't vibe with it, I'm sure it won't. I'm like you. I loved all the I wouldn't call them cutscenes necessarily, but all the like sort of non-computer angled storytelling stuff, all the sort of weird ways that they overlay. Even during boss fights, they'll sometimes do some fuckery on the screen where it's like sending you messages and sending stuff. Like all that stuff is done so tastefully, because you could definitely over-egg that pudding. But they seem to really have an eye for, not doing too much of that.
Yeah. I think that the thing that this game does so brilliantly is that it's like, I'm not going to spoil Inscription here, but I do need to compare it a little to Inscription, where it is a game that is one thing on the surface, and as you begin to penetrate the outer membrane of the game and get really into the thick of it, like maybe for Signalis it might be like a quarter, halfway through. For Inscription, there's a very obvious kind of like, we're doing a thing here. I think that this game reveals itself to be way more than you thought it would. It's like the Mary Poppins bag where you're like, oh yeah, this is like a survival horror game, and you open it and it's just like an endless cosmic void of sorrow.
So I mentioned we'll probably drift into spoilers here now because it's kind of impossible to talk about this game, especially in terms of its themes, without doing it. So where is that for you? Because I can see people playing this game straight through, not really thinking about the story. You could kind of neon white this. You could not engage with
a little bit
with I mean, the themes require you to unpack a lot. Like by the end, I had to figure out what had happened. Like it doesn't tell you what happened. It's not like Immortality where you're like, actually no, Immortality you kind of also have to do that a little bit. Yeah. But I feel like in Signalis they give you even less of a direct like sort of this is what's going on.
Yeah.
So I guess when is that moment for you that where it sort of reveals itself to be something a bit deeper or different?
Yeah. So again, not going to spoil Silent Hill 2, but just as a kind of light thematic note on Silent Hill 2, at some point you realize that, I guess Silent Hill 1 as well, you realize that Silent Hill itself is not just a literal place where people are. It is sort of a liminal realm that is like this psychic manifestation of all of these things. And so in Silent Hill 2, you realize that a lot of the things you're seeing are reflections of James Sunderland's trauma, the things he's been through, that like the form of the enemies themselves, what they look like and how they act and all these things that are happening. These are all sort of like externalizations of an internal experience that James Sunderland, the protagonist, has had. In Signalis, you are constantly being telegraphed that things are not as they seem. Sometimes the enemies will have like little glitches appear across them on screen. You'll learn about the in-game universe and all the different planets that exist in this world. And as you progress, I think the page turn moment for me in Signalis is when you realize that you are not on any of the planets, that you start on one planet in the game and this like snowy crash scene, and then at some point you're after going into the earth like 600 feet you realize you're on the surface of a totally different planet, and that is when you realize this game is doing something that is like way less literal and way more like Jungian psychodrama, that it is playing out some sort of like hallucinatory thing. But much like Silent Hill 2, there are other characters who are having their own experiences, and so it's creating this between position. It's not just your character's dream, and it's not just the dream of another character that you're like inhabiting. It's this sort of like shared like psychic space that is the overlap of literal reality and like hallucinatory reality.
My favorite sort of in-world, because I think the world building stuff is really interesting. Like I couldn't not read every little note that was in this game, and learning the world is inhabited by basically. It reminds me a little bit. So I'm one of my favorite sci-fi books, and recently I've read the sequel. Listened to the sequel.
I was going to say what?
Is the Imperial Rat trilogy, which is Anne Leckie's Ancillary Sword, Ancillary Justice, and Ancillary Mercy, and it's like a hard sci-fi sort of world where the initial book is told from the perspective of a spaceship, but the spaceship is also inhabiting all of the ancillaries, which are the basically androids, but the ship is always everywhere. So the ship is every single one of its ancillaries at the same time, and it's telling you this story from the perspective of thousands of perspectives. Is able to like computate and figure things out on like a micro level. It's absolutely fascinating.
That's very cool.
And one of the interesting things that the entire series sort of talks about is the sense of self, the sense of identity, sort of how you can be this copy of a copy of a copy, how old these things are, how they relate to their captains, because the ancillaries, the ships themselves, the ships, not the ancillaries, are sort of not in love with their captains, but they have a relationship with their captain, which is really, really deep. Oh. And so there's lots of that in this game. Yeah. There's lots of like the android having a relationship with the human who it's sort of meant to be working with, the ideas of copies, the ideas of ancillaries, or these, I don't know what they call them in the game, but like there are, what are they?
The Gestalt officers are like the
right.
Like Ariana's a Gestalt, and then Elster is I can't remember the term they use for like the android half of the dyad.
right? But there are different types of androids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There are different, like, some of them are like war androids, some of them are like more service androids, and they all live in these dorms, and they all have like a fetish and like a comfort object and like a predisposition that happens, like they can get a certain way, or they can go wrong a certain way if you're not,
they're like personality types.
Yeah, it's and they're at a certain point, I'm like, they're personality types because, and also, are they different copies of the same person? Are they different aspects of the same personality? And then when you copy them over generations, how like broken do those personalities get? And like, I think all that stuff sort of feeds in. That was the stuff that I found most interesting, that fed back into the narrative of who you are and who the, you know, your love interest, I guess, in the game kind of is.
Yeah, well, so I don't want to talk about the ending of Signalis because I don't think we need to, but I do want to talk a little bit about the story. So if you're listening to this, we will not talk about the ending, so you can still play this game and enjoy it. So you are Elster, an L-star unit android, and the game starts, you're at a crash site, and you're a Gestalt officer, who is like they work in dyads, essentially. One of the androids works with one of the Gestalt officers. So the other half of your pair that you were on the ship with is missing. And so you go into this mining facility that's full of essentially like zombified androids to find her. But as you go through, you realize that like this isn't your story necessarily, that you might be like a different android than the android that is involved in this love story that you're participating in. And in fact, this may be a cycle that has repeated many times. And so, yeah, the thing you're saying about like identity, I think in a weird way, this game is like a spiritual sister to Immortality, because it's about identity as like if you inherit an identity, it's like a mask you wear. In fact, I feel like the word persona is like derived from the Latin word for mask or something. But it's like you're acting out this like psychodrama that may not even really belong to you, because everyone is like imprinted with these personalities that make the androids realistic and functional, because they have to like be imprinted with a human personality. And so it's like, it's okay, I have to compare it to something that may not resonate for everyone.
Okay.
But the first time I took a
Mein Kampf.
Whoa!
I was trying to think what's the most left field thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Nazism. No, the first time I ever took a serious dose of LSD, I had an experience that is referred to by psychedelic people as ego death, which is the experience of realizing that like your personality is a construction, that who you think you are is a construction of your experiences, your memories, your tastes and preferences, and all of these things. And the experience of ego death is a very profound, real, and terrifying experience of realizing viscerally that all of those things are construct, and that underneath it all, you are just an awareness, and that none of those things are belonging to you. They're essentially just like clothes that you put on top of your consciousness. And there are very few specific pieces of media that I think capture that kind of existential terror. One of them is Duncan Jones's Moon. I think Moon is a very good ego death movie.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But I feel like this game does it so fucking well, because the thing that your character is so devoted to, the thing that's driving every action they're doing, is them like playing out someone else's love story, essentially.
Right.
And so it's this weird like cosmic interconnectedness of, are all of the L-star units the same consciousness? Are you receiving signals that were intended for a different L-star unit? Are you just like, I don't know. It's hard to express because it's a hard topic to discuss. But I think this deconstruction of identity is the core of the thematic brilliance of Signalis. It's this idea that everything we do is part of this construct of personality, and the extent to which that's real is the extent to which we act upon it, and the extent to which it's happening to us.
The thing that sort of stuck out to me a little bit was the way we talk about like artificial intelligence a lot of the time is coming from like a root of logic, of like it's enough layers of logic that at a certain point it gives the impression that it has intelligence, but ultimately it's just like a super complex logic. But what's good about that is that, or what's safe about that, is that it's very easy to sort of handle something that is working logically. It's difficult for me to talk about this without mentioning the Imperial Rats trilogy, because like a large part of what happens in those books is these ships are sometimes alive for hundreds or thousands of years. And so what happens is logic over that time can like skew it in a certain direction. It's kind of, the Matrix is not dissimilar to that in some ways, in which like programs, when they're going to be deleted or whatever, you know, act outside of their whatever. But what I like about Signalis is there's elements of that logic stuff where throughout it, but it's the idea that to create these androids, or to create these artificial beings, it's not actually logic that they have to use, but it's like personality. And like they don't get these robots to do what they do based on telling them via logic that you're an army person, you point the gun at the thing and do it. Instead, they have to make these like sort of aggressive androids that they have to like get them to do the thing by motivating them somehow, but motivating them on like an emotional level. And like that's how I felt about your character in this game as well, where they have the love story, to me at least, the love story was her program, was how she was taught, because how else could she be given the role of protecting this one officer? Like that's, so to me that's, and maybe I was bringing in some baggage into this from this other series, but like that's one of the things I found fascinating, were like the ways in which they had to like mutate the personalities of some of these androids to get them to do what they should do, and then the weird sort of byproducts of that, like having, I forget, there was one of them that like, there was one strain of the androids that lived in a dorm that they always had the lights off or something, like they couldn't look at themselves in the mirrors or something. There was something about them, but that was like, oh, that was because we had to make them this way because what they're doing is X, and that's, if they saw themselves, it would make them feel weirder. It was like, there was something like that. I forget what it was. And then you had all those really interesting stories where like, there was one, I think you pick up a log where somebody's complaining because they're still waiting for their like geolocator unit replacement to turn up because they got lost in the halls on the way to work, and like the halls were like, it was like 3 halls, like all they have to do is walk like this way, but because they don't know where they are, but anyway, that was my sense of it, was like, it was a lot about, and in so telling that story of how these androids were motivated by their emotions, in similar way to, I'm sure, what you guys seem to experience from Citizen Sleep, where it's a very easy mirror to look into yourself and see, how am I motivated by the things that I'm feeling and not the logic that I think that I have or whatever,
Yeah.
I like your read on the story of the game. I think that's really cool, and what you can bring into it. You got to finish that game.
I did.
I
finished
see how it is. Oh, you did? I thought you said you didn't finish it because you got stuck on
I
something.
finished it. Yeah.
Oh, you
sorry.
went back and finished it.
I should take this back. Sorry, I didn't actually finish it. I got stuck in a resource
then
hole.
You watched an ending, yeah.
But I was 20 minutes from the end, so I missed the final fight. And there was one room, and I know what was in there. It was actually like a really hard room to get into for a reason, but I didn't have enough stuff. Maybe there was probably some way I could have done it, but it took me forever to get to that. I died like 10 times trying to do it, and I was like, oh man, I'm just stuck. So I watched a Let's Play of the last. I think it was like 20 minutes of gameplay, and then the cutscene at the end.
My bad. I wasn't saying that to invalidate your position, by the way. I was like, what you said would become way bigger if you finished, but now that you know the ending,
because without talking about the ending, I had like it didn't. Yeah, it's hard to talk about it. I also feel like you could talk about the end of this game and people would still enjoy a lot of it, because
there's
like,
more
the
than one
moment-to-moment
ending,
gameplay of it is very divorced from the story. Like, it is a isometric, or like Metal Gear Solid whatever angle survival horror game, which has great shooting and interesting weapons and resource management and keys, and the puzzles are great.
The puzzles are so good in this game.
They're so
the puzzles are,
holy shit.
There's not, I don't think there's a bad puzzle in it. Like,
my god, they're brilliant. Yeah, I won't even say which one it is, but there's a puzzle in this game that made me feel like a fucking genius. When I solved it, I just they're because the thing about a well-designed puzzle is the aha moment where you're like, I don't what are you telling me? What are you telling me? And then
I need to know which one it was.
It was the planets. It's the one where there is I won't say how you solve it. I'll just say what it looks like. There's a computer screen underneath a glass bell jar that you can't like touch, and you have to do something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's not ringing a bell, but
okay, I'll tell you after, because I don't. If I tell you which one it is, it'll spoil how to do it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's so sharp. It's so smart. All that stuff is also like. I can hear the sounds of them screaming right now in my head.
Yeah.
The sound design is terrific.
Oh, just
so
this game just fires on every cylinder all at the same time. Aesthetically, thematically, narratively, mechanically. It's just everything to all people. It's the Philosopher's Stone. It's the Omni game.
Whoa.
You know, you called this one of the best survival horror games or retro survival horror games. I've been playing all of the Resident Evil games, and it had nothing to do with Signalis, but I played all the retro Resident Evil games for the first time this year. 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica X, and 0. This is like the second best Resident Evil game.
Dude.
I still think 2 is better than this.
You have to remember that Resident Evil did come out 20 years ago.
Oh no, absolutely.
Sure. No, it's a Shoulders of Giants
They're
scenario.
still bad. Let's be honest. Come on.
It is very much a Shoulders of Giants scenario. Without Resident Evil and Silent Hill, this game doesn't exist. But if you play it as a game without that context, without trying to contextualize it in the history of survival horror, just in a vacuum, I think it's probably it's definitely in the top 5 survival horror games of all time. I think it is up there with Silent Hill 2 in terms of just an experience in a vacuum. I don't know. It's so fucking good.
The one thing I would say, just for people who haven't played this or seen it, is that I could hear that, but I would couch it and say indie, because like this is
Really?
I don't know, man.
Well, in terms of its scope, for sure, because like when you look at Resident Evil 1 or Silent Hill, those games, for the time when they came out, were made by teams of like clearly like, I don't know, 20, 30 people or something like that. This is a game that was made by a handful of people, and I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying in the same way you look at Tunic and a Zelda game, if you look at Resident Evil and this is a smaller game. You know what I mean? It's not crazy long. It's based over sort of...
Man, I've played them all pretty recently, man. 1, 2, and 3 are like the same length as this.
Silent Hill 2 is almost the exact
what I'm saying is
length.
when you're making games in the 90s to do that...
It took more people to do the same thing,
Yeah. So by today's standards, I think like I don't play Signalis and think it was made by a studio. It's an indie game. Like it's a really good game. But so I'm saying is when you're saying it's like one of the top 5 survival horror games, it's like you have to. I feel like I'm not saying this is a Resident Evil 1 Nightmare of Decay situation or anything like that. I'm not calling. I love Nightmare of Decay. I'm not saying it's like stripped down like that. Like it's very. This game wouldn't be better by being AAA. But I'm saying like. You know, this. I'm not wishing this looked like the Callisto Protocol or something like that. Yeah. But I do think that like people should go into it knowing that it is a game made by a like super passionate small group of people over. It sounds like a long period of time as well. It sounds like
8 years or something.
Yeah. Sounds like
Which
I think is in its credit. It's like very like has a vision.
I mean, I think what that speaks to is the fact that technology has advanced so much that now 2 people with the help of a handful of like artists or sound people, I can't remember, there is 2 core people, and then I think they had like 3 or 4 other people help out on stuff. But the technology exists now for, you know, a pair of people with a strong vision to do what it took Team Silent to do, a team of like 30 people in the 90s, early 2000s or whatever. But I think, again, like divorced from influence, divorced from size of the team or anything, if you took this game and you released it in 2001, I think is when Silent Hill 2 came out. I think Silent Hill 2 came out like 3 days after 9/11. It's something like that. It was around 9/11. Yeah, I don't know. I think if you released this game in that time and didn't tell me how many people made it, I would have believed it as an authentic product of a Team Silent kind of team.
Yeah, but like part of it is that it, and I think I get what Danny's kind of saying, that what Signalis does so well, I don't think it is entirely Signalis's thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like a lot of it is a mirror of so many things that they're influenced by, and they've said this on Twitter, and that's totally fair. That's why I like it so much. It's hard for me to not finish this and immediately think of Nier Automata in terms of like its themes and what it's going for. There's so many games that Signalis is inspired by, and it's obvious. Frame 1, but it's still really fucking good. Like
what I like about that as well is
in great ways.
What I like about that as well is that you're saying you're picking up on all these, because I'm not a big Silent Hill fan. So like, not that I'm not a fan, I just haven't played a lot of those games. And I've played the first 2 Resis, and I've played Nemesis, I'm sure, at one stage, but I can't remember most of the rest. You know, Veronica up until 6, unfortunately, were the ones that I've not played. or 5. I did play 5. God, it was so bad. But you enjoyed the game with all of the references, and I didn't pick up on probably 90% of the references, and I loved it. So it wasn't even like, it works both ways. You know, I didn't need to know that stuff. To enjoy
Immortality is the exact same thing, in my opinion, because Immortality is one of those. I think Signalis you can play, and all of the reference and homage is just kind of like extra seasoning for the people who understand it. Immortality is the same way. Like, you don't have to see Black Narcissist to understand that matte painting is cool. You know, you don't have to see like every work by Krzysztof Kieślowski to understand that like the Double Life of Veronique's themes are equally as profound in a video game or something. It's like, I think that's the thing about good homage is it works as itself. It doesn't work only in reference to the thing it's paying homage to. I think that's what good homage does.
Yeah, I don't take Signalis as derivative.
Yeah,
no,
no,
not at all.
But it is constantly wearing those references on its. It's totally unafraid to be like, here's a Resident Evil puzzle, here's a Silent Hill puzzle. But because those things are done so well and authentically, and with such an authentic love for the source material, they stand alone.
Who's not to say that little android lady had played Resident Evil back in the day?
So true, dude.
You know?
Yeah, maybe that's canon in the world. Is that Resident Evil and Silent Hill exist?
They got emulators on the space station.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, they had to
probably
do something while they were drifting through space on an exploration vessel,
They're all on their Steam
awaiting
decks.
fucking radiation death.
Little fucking tiny elevator for the androids.
Yeah.
What's that about, eh? Little fucking lazy, what do you call it? Dumb waiter?
Yeah, dumb waiters.
Little Lazy Susan.
When you go down into the like the lazy Susan, when you go down into the like crust of the earth and suddenly you're in like meat space, I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is some Silent Hill shit. I remember this. Yeah, that stuff gets fucked up. That gets the game gets really weird.
Yeah,
some weird shit going on in that game.
Yep.
Signalis.
Play Signalis, everyone.
Play Signalis. Play all these games. Neon White, Immortality, Citizen Sleeper, Signalis, Weird West are games of 2022 for today. But gentlemen, we have the important work now of giving them their awards. Not just any old award. We can give them any old award. Hey, if we think Citizen Sleeper is the best writing, let's just give our best writing. But if there's another award you want to give these games, like, for instance, Sweetest Execution of Cult of the Lamb, just saying how good it was, how well executed the entire vision of the game was, or Best Fang for your buck, thank you, Inkalot, which obviously implies that Vampire Survivor is really worth the paltry, what is it now, $5 it's gone up to, you know, if you want to highlight a special part of the game, which is important to it, then you can also do that. Which one do you want to... Does anyone have any strong suggestions for anything this week? And we can start there.
So, Signalis, Jeremy, you said offhandedly, like you do, just an amazing thing.
I blacked out. What did I say?
It was all just vibes, dude. I don't know. You called Signalis a cosmic void of sorrow. And like, that's a good award.
The Cosmic Void of Sorrow award.
Because I feel like every year there's a cosmic void of sorrow.
That's true. Every day for some people.
Remember? Yeah, exactly.
I something like that. Or I was also thinking it's like constantly referencing Lovecraft, and it does sort of a very unique take on Lovecraft. So, but it's also a love story. So something like putting the love in Lovecraft or something.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
is it Lovecraftian? I guess it is.
Yeah,
I guess Silent Hill is. So that
yeah. There's also a couple. You find the King in Yellow, which was not written by Lovecraft, but is like referenced in a lot of Lovecrafty inspired stuff. And also there's we don't need to like spoil when you get into the meat space stuff. That's all. It's all very Lovecraftian.
We want to highlight the things these games do best. That's what the award is about, right? It's about the thing that it does the best. Let's just go through everything. We say what do some of these do best? Neon White. What the style, vibes, just like.
There's like I think of like Speed, I think of Rush, like just the feeling you get from it. And then there is also that like Dreamcast Y2K like colorful anime aesthetic. So it's something to do with like the color, look,
speed running. Well, the color's not the thing that's the best. Think about what's the best. For each of these, we need to think about the thing that it does better than any, not just the games that came out this year, but these as well, like the 14 or so that we have. So what is the thing about Neon White that it does better than any of the other games?
Neon White is like a flow state inducer. It's so mechanically. It's about like precision and like mechanical precision, and like it's like the self mastery award, or like the Dreamcast era flow state inducer award.
Right. Yeah, flow state's a good
that flow
shout.
state, everything there kind of like encapsulates like what feeling do you get when you're nailing all that shit? What does that feel? It's like giving you adrenaline.
And
Hottest flow state. What is it?
Like
what
hot
do we
flow
call-
States.
Sexiest flow state.
It's a sexy flow, baby.
I mean, there's some jiggery pokery going on with the narrative. As far, at least that's what I assume, having sped through all of it.
Oh, you're right.
That's what I get.
The game
That's
is
what I
fucking
gathered
horny.
from watching it in fast forward.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot
Even
of,
if fast forward, it's horny.
Yeah, I saw a
Yeah.
lot of like little red lines above people's cheeks, so I
Exactly,
assumed they were
yeah.
horny.
Sickest flow state.
It's like sickest flow, or like the
Sickest flow.
Go with,
Oh,
sickest
man.
flow award, or like
Give
go
that to
with
a
the
rap
flow,
game next year.
Flow. I don't know. Flow from the Allstate insurance commercials. I think it's Progressive Insurance.
All right, we'll come back to that in a second. Immortality.
At some point, Jeremy or someone said new directions. Like that isn't exactly it, but I like that phrase of new directions because I think the game pushes you when you're playing it to think. I don't want to say think outside the box, but like really like go in different directions. I think also as a game medium, this is like a film puzzle. I don't know. It's so many. It's beyond just a video game. There's also a mystery.
Freshest direction.
I like that.
Freshest direction.
Directions and
Freshest-
double entendre.
double entendre.
I like that we had to say it wrong, both of us.
Yeah, we both went there.
Directions.
Double entendre.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Freshest direction.
Yeah, I like that.
It's not bad. Is it fresh?
Yeah.
It feels fresh. It does
Feels
feel
fresh.
new.
It does feel fresh. It is kind of doing what Sam Barlow has been doing for 2 games, but it definitely is.
It's fresh to me because I didn't play any of those
Yeah,
other
yeah.
fucking games.
Well,
Yeah.
her story, I didn't play Telling Lies, but her story was similar,
Telling
but
Lies
also
is great.
so different in the way you interface with it.
Right.
Yeah, freshest directions. We could pin that and circle back like we did
Yeah.
last one. Kind of like
anything-
keep cycling.
Yeah, let's take one more swipe at that, or
Okay.
just plant one more seed in that one, and just talk about the subtext of that game and what's going on in the background. Maybe there's something to do with the one or the other that is, something.
Yeah, something about muses, because like the game is heavily referencing like the idea of a muse.
It's dumb, but I wrote 15 minutes of flame. That's not it, but there is something there about like immortality,
I like that,
celluloid, the silver screen, like that La La Land effect. But there's also a nightmare element of that too. So
Okay, I
Yeah,
like
something
it.
about like the big screen or silver screen, like I don't know.
silver screen.
No bad ideas in brainstorming. We'll get it in there.
What did you say, Frank? The Silver Scream?
Silver Scream Award.
Silver Scream Award is really good.
Silver Scream. It's not.
I like
I don't
that.
find it scary.
Yeah,
If it was
yeah.
more of a horror
I
game,
don't know.
that
You
would be
told a story
perfect.
that made it sound like a horror game, so
It was horror game for like good. I'd say
it's a good scare.
90 minutes of the 6 hours. or
Yeah, it's
whatever. However, maybe it's longer. Maybe it's 8 hours. So
Possessed. Hold on,
It's
possessed.
unsettling more than scary, I guess.
yeah. Okay, let's move over to Weird West. This is a tricky one.
There is
Just give
like
it best immersive sim. Just do that.
there's immersive playground or sandbox. Immersive playground, sandbox. Those are kind of the words. There's a connection
Ooh,
with
yeah,
sand,
sandbox is
desert.
good because sand, desert,
Sandbox is
yeah.
good.
West.
that's like a
Oh
sandbox.
yeah,
Sandbox.
true.
What about
Yeah.
spaghetti narrative, like spaghetti
Oh, like
western?
spaghetti western. Yeah,
That's
pretty
good.
too.
Yeah.
Spaghetti sandbox.
I feel like the this is so stupid. I feel like you could just call it like 2022's like 2023's best game of 2022 or like
Yeah.
cult classic.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the
clearest cult classic.
game everyone will love in 5 years.
Exactly. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
Game
Sounds
everyone will do video essays about in 5 years.
Yeah. 2025's most video essayed game.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
yeah.
great.
Weird
Yeah.
West 3 years on or whatever.
Yeah.
I like sandbox and I like the spaghetti. What if you just go spaghetti sandbox?
There's also something about like
spaghetti sandbox.
buried treasure or treasure in a sandbox. Like it's been that the game is there, it's planted, and more people will uncover it or uncover its mysteries.
Oh,
Hidden
yeah.
treasure.
Hidden
What's
so-
yeah?
Hidden by the sands of time.
X on
marks
fire.
the spot. X marks Yeah.
X-
I think that's
Xbox marks
that's
this one.
piratey
Yeah.
to me.
That's
doesn't
fine.
it? There is treasure though. What would you
Yeah.
call
Yeah.
it? Loot, bounty. I'm just fucking in pirate land here. What's the? Because there is buried treasure in this game. What's it called? What do you call it when a
Cowboy buries treasure.
cowboy buries treasure? What's that called?
I don't know.
Because
That's a thing,
I'm also
right?
thinking of like westerns because there's like Treasure of the Sierra Madre. There's also like there's the Clint Eastwood's famous trilogy where it's like one of them
Buried gold.
buried gold. Yeah.
Gold mine. Narrative gold mine.
Ooh, gold mine.
Yeah. That's good.
That's
Good.
hot.
A
There are lots
fistful.
of gold mines.
A fistful of something could be an option as well
Fist-
for Clint Eastwood and Cowboy.
Fistful of immersion.
A fistful of narrative immersion.
Narrative gold mine, not coal mine, Danny. What are you doing?
Coal mine. Hey, coal is useful though. Yeah.
Fucking look at this guy.
Yeah, this guy's
He's in-
owned by
he's
the
in
Koch brothers. Fuck
Exactly,
off.
yeah.
Hey man, we don't need solar panels. It's like they break and like
Take them off.
Natural gas.
The sun
coal
goes
is all
away.
natural, dude. Yeah. Do you hate nature? Yeah, gold mine is pretty good. Like lost, I guess treasure is very piratey sounding.
I do think game everyone will love in 5 years is
That's the
is the most like that's why I champion this game so much.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
people just did not grab it. I don't know if they did. I feel like it screams Prey
Yeah.
2016 to me. This game does.
Yeah, I think that's our best one so far.
Yeah, cult classic.
Cult classic
Tragic.
of tomorrow.
Tragic cult classic. Yet another cult classic for Raphael Colantonio.
Poor guy. One day he'll just make a regular classic.
Okay, we'll come back to it. Citizen Sleeper. I leave the floor open to you.
Jeremy said narrative sashimi, which I thought was really funny. Are awarding it like a restaurant, like 5-star narrative sashimi. But narrative
Yeah.
sashimi is like that's too good. And there is chefs, and you are cooking stuff. There's mushrooms
Yeah.
there, but there's so
True.
much there.
There's a lot of love for food in this game.
Narrative
Yeah.
sushi, narrative sashimi,
Yeah, it's like
narrative
or like something about like what is
Michelin
narrative
star
sashimi?
narrative.
Narrative sashimi is good, but like what is it communicating? It's communicating the like density of the experience, the like no frillsness, I don't know.
Density's good because then you take that, you
Quality.
make that space,
There-
make that like a dwarf star, the dwarf star of gaming.
Super
massive dense,
It
right?
also literally is like raw story where it's like this is like pure narrative, and there's video game mechanic stuff, but it's like you're just getting the best of the best. Here's your story. There's no rice or other stuff with it. It's like here it is, and
True.
it is
Yeah.
good, and there's different dishes. Like here's a bounty hunter story. Like it's not all one slice. It's so much in one thing. And then I'm thinking of like there's also
Where's the
Space
soy
Station
sauce?
or
Okay.
something. Yeah.
What about we combine Jiro Dreams of Sushi with Do Androids Dream of Electric Electric Sheep, and we call it Do
Androids
Androids
Dream.
Jiro's Dream.
Do androids dream of electric sushi?
Yeah.
Sashimi?
I would feel like that loses that sounds like nonsense because it loses the connection to narrative sushi.
fine.
So what were we,
It's
sorry,
all
I
good.
interrupted. What were you saying?
I was kind of making a joke, but I was gonna say, do androids Jiro's Dream of Electric? Yeah, there's nothing there.
Oh,
I
man.
just was more so trying to make myself laugh.
70% of one. That was good.
Yeah, that's 70% of brilliance.
Yeah.
What's the tastiest, most like delicious? It's something like prime rib, but that doesn't. Sounds like sushi is more the vibe of this, like more Asian.
What's the prime rib of fish? Ahi
sushi,
tuna.
yeah. Sashimi's it though, right? You're right. It's like
Yeah.
like it's just expensive cuts of fish, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you get
just
the ahi tuna sashimi.
The feeling
go.
of this game is like you're at a tiny little Michelin star sushi place, and there's the one
Right.
dude behind the counter, and you can see him, and he's like, "Oh, this is gonna be. You gotta eat this all in one bite with just a little dash of soy sauce." Like he's feeding it to you, and you're like, "Oh, it's so good," and he's like, "I know, dude. Like that's why I'm only serving you this."
Yeah. What's another word for like a for that sense of
Yeah, it's like curated, or it's like
Yeah, there's
it's
like
like
Chef's Choice. There's Prime.
Chef's Choice is good. Yeah, I like that.
Man.
That's a tough one. This
Yeah,
is the
it
hardest
is.
part about the game of the year is coming up with the awards.
It's hard to turn Citizen Sleeper into like 2 or 3 words to describe.
I know, it feels crass.
How good it is.
It feels like
I feel like I'm insulting them.
Yeah, like why don't you give the Sistine Chapel of narrative for an award? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Narrative
Pretty all right.
sashimi is like
Narrative Sashimi is pretty good.
it's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It is, and there's like
Narratives.
Japanese influences in the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And food. I feel
Food.
like that is a good, if not the one, I feel like it's the best we could do for
solid
now.
one.
Maybe we bounce off it for a minute.
Does narrative shiitake feel better with the mushrooms in the game?
It is related to mushrooms, but I feel like sashimi really communicates the like density of flavor and value.
You have it like you just like
It's the best fish. It's like fish so good you can eat it raw.
yeah.
I guess they also flash freeze it, but we'll just ignore that for now.
Don't worry about it.
Put
Okay,
in
we'll keep narrative sashimi.
citrus.
Seems like. Okay, let's head back over to our friend Neon White here. We have flow state seems to be the one that's sticking out the most. We also had like style, vibe, speed, mastery, speed running.
There's also something, the connection where it's like everyone in Neon White's like an angel. There's heavenly. There's also like ascending. You are jumping. You are gliding in the sky.
Heavenly.
So there's
Heavenly flow or something?
yeah, like heavenly flow.
Divine
yeah.
flow.
Divine.
That sounds like a
I feel like
slogan
I'm in
for
a fucking
tampon.
tampon commercial here, guys. Yeah, it's
divine flow.
Have a heavenly flow. Tampax.
Have a heavenly flow.
Divine
Yeah,
speed.
exactly.
God damn it, guys.
Yeah. We don't need a podcast with 4 guys talking about tampons. That's not going there. Flow state now that's all I can see now as well. But I feel like the community and the community leaderboard aspect of this might be playing into it as well, like community flow state or.
Yeah,
Well,
I
what do you
keep coming back
think?
to like self-mastery as well as the thing. That's the thing that stuck with me the most about this is kind of it's condensing, like when you learn a craft, if you learn to draw or something, that feeling of self-mastery comes so slowly over time where like 2 years later you look back at the stuff you've been drawing and you're like, wow, look how much better I've gotten. I feel like this does that in 20 minutes. You're like, holy shit, I got like a bronze and now I'm like 5,000th best in the world at this level or something.
How about speedrunning terminology? I googled it. I don't know it off the top of my head.
He's on a speedrunning terminology website. Let's go.
I am. I think I said it earlier, but when you nail something, you save those milliseconds. What are you doing? You're being frame perfect.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty good.
Frame perfect award? Come on.
It's just it's only got that one connection.
It's fine.
And it's not bad. It's not bad.
It's good. It's a little inside baseball.
It's not what the game
fine.
does.
That's what the game is,
Better
though.
than every other game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess.
Or like
We're stuck on
photo
this one, I
finish.
think.
Photo finish, maybe something like that. I don't know. This is a tough one. This is a tough set of games to essentialize.
What's I was trying to think of like with communion in church, but I just thought communion for speed freaks. That doesn't. But speed.
Oh, communion.
Yeah, speed
like,
freak communion. I don't
like
know.
like the.
They're handing you the
sacrament,
cracker,
what do you call
giving
it?
you a little...
Sacrament.
Yeah.
Sacrament of speed.
Is this grape juice?
Church.
Church.
Yeah. What do you call? Yeah, community. Because like
Yeah.
community around. How do you say that? Like church. Community around
Congregation?
religion, church. Congregation's
Yeah, it's like
good.
speed,
Congregation.
speed freak congregation or
Speed
something.
freak congregation.
Yeah, they do say it's
That
a
sounds
game
like people
for
who do
freaks, by freaks.
methamphetamine. That sounds
Yeah,
like
that's
where
fine.
that's where you have like Narcotics Anonymous.
Yeah.
The Speed Freaks
They're
congregation.
freeballing in the basement of the church. That's what this kind of game is.
Speed freak congregation.
Yeah, I kind of like that though.
What do you call
Freebasing,
what would the congregation surround themselves in? Like
Like
what would be the thing that would draw them to it? Because that's the game. The game brought all these people.
Yeah.
So is it the
Church of the Perfect Run or something?
like church?
Scientology.
Or-
You do go fast.
Scientology.
It's got
Let's
Tom
just give it
Cruise
the Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard presents.
Yes.
Sermon? No. I'm getting too in the weeds on this one now.
Yeah. What? Yeah. It's like It's like people hearing the call of this like church of speed or something.
All right, let's back it out. Let's go back to Immortality. How do we feel about Freshest Direction?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I can't come up
I
with a
feel like
better
we
one.
could do better maybe, but it's pretty good.
Okay.
I don't know. I like it a lot. I just I've let's give it one more swing of the bat, maybe.
So direction feels like. Do you want to stay in that for a second and play in that and change? See if freshest doesn't make.
Yeah.
Or do you want to go complete blank slate here?
No. Yeah. No. I think direction is good because it communicates it's the double entendre. Yeah, I guess Freshest direction is pretty good. The only reason I'm averse to it is maybe because her story, it feels like Sam Barlow's been refining this formula for a couple of years, maybe.
Be weird calling this best debut indie game when it's definitely not the first one.
Yeah, it's like saying it invented a genre when it's like doing, I don't know. But Freshest, it is definitely a different take on that, though.
So direction stays, fresh doesn't.
Something about editing or something about like cutting, making the cut, like the Jesse's doing this like I have the perfect idea.
Dude, you got it. It's right there. It's on the tip of your tongue. Pull it out. Pull it out, baby. You said it. Making the cut. The cut. That's good.
Yeah,
cut is good because that's
like
you made it and it's editing.
It's
double.
like the match cut. Just like
poetry goes in a circle. Come on.
Yeah. He's like.
I love how this podcast ends up us having to like figure out product names.
It really is like marketing.
It's like super hard, difficult thing that usually takes a long time. Yeah. We're gonna have to, and we don't even have YouTube to help us because we're recording these back to back, so we're not even going to be able to circle back to this one, at least until January. So
true.
Maybe that's when we do our final.
I'm also thinking of like screenwriting terms because there's like fade to black, crosscut, like your inner titles to help you jump from scene to scene, but like I don't know. Ah, dang.
Let's get away from the idioms and terminologies just a little bit and just talk about
sweetest execution is screwing everyone up.
That should come second.
Yes.
Okay.
Sweetest execution works because it's about how the game's presentation was executed, which maybe that doesn't communicate it enough. Maybe that's the problem, and how sweet the game is. But like best bang for your buck, right? Maybe that that's the whole point is that it communicates the thing that it does the best first. The Monkey Island one's about the ending. Elden Ring's about the amount of wonder and how expansive it is. So like for this, it's what is it? It's the direction, it's the acting, it's the story, the subtext to it. For me, it felt like it was about the mystery and the sense of like the discovery or like organically creating a mystery for you to explore, and it's about like discovery and revelation. Unsolved Mystery Award.
Unsolved Mysteries Award.
Okay, we'll come back to this one. This one's proven a little bit of a tricky one. Signalis. We have almost nothing for Signalis. This is a tricky one.
Yeah.
This is the tricky one. We have Cosmic Void of Sorrow. We don't have. What is it about Signalis that we? It's retro. It's standing on the shoulders of giants. It's survival horror.
Yeah, it's like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
I was gonna say for me, it's like best PlayStation classic of 2022, where it's like it really does feel like it would have been third, like in that crew of Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Signalis had this come out in 1999. Like they really nailed it. The look of the game, like the texture of just like
everything,
the graphic design, the menu, the resources. It's like none of it feels cheap either. It's like holy crap, they really like they nailed it. So it's almost like a survival horror game that got unstuck in time. Like
that's good.
Yeah,
or
arrived from a portal from hell, where it's like, where the hell did this thing come from?
If it was best PlayStation 1 game, but there was some way of adding to that made it not so retro or derivative.
Yeah.
Like best PlayStation 1 rebirth or best, you know what I mean?
Survival horror rebirth.
Yeah, or it's like the last thing we want to do is say like best game of 2001 because then it sounds like it's a game that's stuck in the past. But
totally.
it's like the something about like timeless. Maybe the word timeless is in there or something like.
I wouldn't call it timeless. I think it's actually very time specific.
Well, I guess I was saying that it's like it's making clear that period of survival horror from late 90s, early 2000s itself is timeless. But I guess, that could be confusing if we put timeless in the title. Yeah, it's like the Unstuck from Time award. The like, man, it's a tough set of games.
It is. These are particularly tricky. But what is it about Signalis? It's the fact that it's a throwback. It's a really good reimagining of a PlayStation era game of Silent Hill games. Can we get Silent Hill in the name somehow?
Well, I was gonna say we could say like one of the top 3 Silent Hill games of all time, but I feel like again
best
that's
Silent Hill game of the year, but that also feels derivative, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say the best Silent Hill game of the last 20 years award, but I feel like that is because it makes it. We're saying, oh, you just made a Silent Hill game, and I think this is so special in its own right. Yeah, I think there's 2 directions to go with this award. We either highlight the fact that it is harkening back to an era of survival horror that was good back then and is still good now, and this is one of the best examples of that genre, or we go the other direction and just praise it for its narrative, because I think that those are the 2 angles from which this game is attacking. It is a classic retro survival horror game like Silent Hill, Resident Evil meshed together, but it's also telling this like incredibly beautiful, profound love story. It's like
problem with the narrative one is we're already giving the narrative one to Citizen Sleeper.
Narrative sashimi,
right. Yeah.
This is what's another food? No, yeah, fuck, you're right. It's like I don't know, man. Yeah, it's like something. There's a John C. Lilly quote that I feel like would be useful here, which is like there's no like cosmic love is ruthlessly indifferent or something. Hold on, let me look this up.
Start naming this.
I was
like
looking
it's
up
an emo
words
band.
that I was looking up words that rhyme with hill to see if we could get like Silent Bill, Silent Krill, anything that was like spooky space station, but nothing was coming up. Nothing was coming up.
Yeah,
okay.
The quote was, "Cosmic love is absolutely ruthless and highly indifferent. It teaches its lessons whether you like them or not." It's like like cosmic. It's because it's like cosmic horror, but it's a love story. There's got to be something there. I still like Love and Lovecraft, but I feel like calling it a Lovecraft narrative is a little reductive as well.
This doesn't fit at all, but I just laughed at the idea of Ghost in the Hell. That's not because there's Ghost in the Shell, which is very traditional anime. There's
Pretty good. And androids.
That is a good one.
Androids, yeah, it's not a million miles from it. Cosmic. It is very cosmic. It's very like cosmic horror.
It is.
Man,
yeah.
I can't help but thinking so much of what we like about this game is the fact that it was throwing back to this previous era, not just in its like the puzzles, the gameplay, the look.
I feel like it's like the hook and the kicker, though. I feel like the hook is retro survival horror, and then the kicker is like that's the Trojan horse. And then once the Trojan horse of retro survival horror is in the city walls, it opens up and it's like, no, this is a fucking love story for the ages. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I feel like any way we highlight the fact that it's harkening back to a past era will feel reductive in the names we can come up with for it. Whereas if we highlight the narrative, which is my favorite thing about the game, I think it will show what it's doing.
And it's that. See, to me, the game does not like. I like a lot of the story stuff, and I know personally for you, it's definitely rung true in that way. But I don't know if as a group we all think that it's the narrative. That's the thing.
Fair enough. That's fair.
I don't know.
I really liked it.
I could be wrong. If anyone wants to.
The story was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I ended up liking the puzzles and stuff a lot more than
Fair
the
enough.
narrative. Not to discount the narrative. I just
really
liked those so much more.
Aesthetic and the combat stuff. I thought
cool.
was really cool.
All right, then, yeah, I think as a group, then we need to highlight the survival horror retroness of it.
What if we call it the survival horror Homecoming? Because that is a Silent Hill game.
Oh,
wow.
Silent
that's pretty
Hill
good.
Homecoming, right? Survival horror Homecoming.
Yeah. I think that's pretty good.
Because it's returning
pretty
it's
good.
returning to the origins of like what makes this genre and also that is part of the graphics, the resource management, the like claustrophobic like holy crap, as opposed to like how excessively over the top action a lot of those games have become, Resident Evil and stuff like that. Like Silent Hill Yeah, not survival. Silent Hill Homecoming.
Survival horror.
Survival horror. Homecoming is like very sweet. I do like that. Survival
Yes.
Homecoming.
Yeah, it's like what you just made me think of is there's like a high school reunion
Yes.
20 years on, and Signalis shows up.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
it's still looking fucking good. You're like,
Hey,
oh
guys,
my
yeah.
god!
Now.
Like,
Hey, what's
Survival
going on,
horror
guys?
PS1 is still looking good. You've aged
Still wear
well.
Jinkos? Wow.
Yeah.
And because also there's a part of it which we didn't address where it's like there is like hardcore 90s anime aesthetic too. Like it's
Yeah.
that Ghost in the Shell vibe, and it's like so there is something about that throwback to not just PSX era but also that 90s anime in general. But that's why Homecoming also invokes high school or early stuff. Yeah.
And I like the idea of the Silent Hill reference being like subtle. Like it's there.
Yeah.
It's there if you see it, and if you don't see it, the award still works.
Yeah.
Survival horror Homecoming. That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that.
Okay.
Is
let's
Homecoming
put
the
that
worst
there for
Silent
now.
Hill game, though?
Let's not dwell on it.
We don't need to
Okay,
worry
yeah, good
about that.
point.
Because
Sorry. I take it back.
That's a
Survival
that's a
horror
hidden.
The Room.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Weird West again, and we'll get this one done and dusted. So Sandbox, Best Immersive Sim, Spaghetti Narrative, Game Everyone Will Love in 5 years, and Narrative Goldmine. I think Game Everyone Will Love in 5 years is too perfect.
Yeah.
I think it's like, I don't, and it's so on the nose in a way that I think is appropriate, because it's like, because I think that's my overriding feeling when I talk about this game, is that people just have not gotten it, and they will get it, and people get it when they give it a go. So it feels a little bit like bittersweet. Everyone's favorite game in 5 years. Game everyone, maybe there's a way of tightening it up a little bit, like
Most beloved game of I don't know.
yeah, what's like a future, like a come around, or like the one that got away or something like that, you know what I mean? Like there's like a bittersweet aspect to it, like the
Yeah, now I'm stuck in like 80s high school movie tropes. So I was gonna say it's like the nerdy girl who takes her glasses off and everyone's like,
Oh, you're
she's
right.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Look."
Exactly. That's exactly what this is. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, what's that called?
The Beautiful All Along Award.
yeah.
It's like the Hidden Beauty. Yeah, I don't know.
The Hidden Gem Award.
I feel like Game Everyone Will Love in 5 years is it's wordy, but I feel like it kind of like gets to the meat of it the most effectively. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's another way to communicate that.
Yeah.
It's so funny that we're trying to figure out the best thing of all these games, and the best thing about this game is that everyone's going to like it in 5 years. Everyone's going to like it in 5 years.
That's the thing. Like, otherwise, I'm trying to think. Yeah, if there was another way of like putting it, like underappreciated is another way of putting it. You know, I don't know, but that seems a bit, I don't know, bitter or something.
It's like fine wine, the Fine Wine Award.
Fine wine. Yeah, because the other thing about it is that it's like narrative immersion, like immersive sim, the narrative, the fuck around and find out award. You know what I mean? Like, but it's not just that. I really think like the presentation's great, the shooting's great on mouse and keyboard, and Frank says it's been, trimmed up a bit on console and controller. So much of the story is really good. Let's come back to it. I'm feeling a little bit weird about the game everyone will love in 5 years. Citizen Sleeper. We have narrative Shishimi, and I feel like it's pretty good, but I have not played enough of the game, so I don't know.
I think that communicates what I like about it. It feels curated. It feels artisanal, and like it's like small batch narrative. It's this. You're not going and getting 100 plates at this place. You're just going and you're getting a little slice of dense goodness.
I just want to give it the best writing
Artisanal's
award, but that narrative sashimi is that, but like smarter, like with a fancy hat on.
Yeah. Boutique, that's a little bit pinky finger, I think. It's a bit too much.
The boutique award.
Michelin
Boutique,
star.
boutique narrative.
Are you enjoying this? I am.
The boutique narrative award. Yeah.
Sorry, I know
my
what
long
happened there.
cigarette?
We just got the Polygon podcast got in there.
Whoopsie.
I was trying to think who in games journalism is like that, but I'm not sure anyone is anymore.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's very
The New Yorker Games podcast.
exactly.
there you
Yeah,
go.
say I was thinking of Polygon, but I think the Besties is a Polygon thing, isn't it? I think it is. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the New Yorker, exactly. The New York Times.
narrative sashimi, because food is such a big thing in this game too. I feel like it's fitting because the most memorable moment early on in the game is definitely when you have that first meal with the noodle vendor, and like the game is so interested in describing the aroma, the sensation, the way it like fills your body with warmth and comfort, the way that food and community intersect.
Okay.
Yeah,
The Narrative
food and community.
Sashimi Award.
Yeah.
For Citizen Sleep. We'll put it there for now. If you have any suggestions, you're watching this video, put it in the comments. Okay. God. Immortality. We're going to go back to Immortality.
Okay.
Freshest direction we have there now. New direction. Muse. Silver Scream. Mystery. I'm with you. Freshest direction feels a little... Fresh might seem overly... maybe not accurate given his back catalog, but I honestly can't say.
It definitely does. I'm not opposed to it because it definitely does feel like a fresh game, even within the. I mean, I haven't played Telling Lies. Jesse has, but it feels different enough from her story to me that it feels like a fresh direction, even with because we're not saying like new genre. The new genre invented award.
Ever heard of
So,
FMV?
and I do like direction.
Boldest direction? I don't know, because it is also very experimental, avant-garde, and they pull it off. Again, kind of like with Monkey Island, but it's like, for me, it's like they're crossing over mediums, or they're splicing together mediums, and it's like...
Splicing.
Splicing
Is an
together
edit word.
mediums. Yes, I like
just
splicing.
Like,
Yeah.
because also part of it does feel like the best like DVD special features I've ever seen. Like imagine, but no studio would ever let you look at all that footage. Like I don't know, but there is something there. Like it is so bold, ambitious, and the way it literally cuts together dual mediums of like video games, film, or interactivity in film, and it's like it's also a game I want everyone to play because it's like look at the limitless like opportunities that video game or film or any digital storytelling can be.
That's good. I think the thing that this game deserves praise for is like showing us that video games can do different things. I think that's what Fresh's direction is getting at, but we're not honing in enough on saying like in the way Inscription was so delightful and was my game of the year last year because it was like there were so many moments playing that game where I was like, holy shit, like you can do this with a video game. Yeah, it's something about like it's like subverting your expectations for the medium.
Yeah, I'm also thinking of like when in the history of film, when there's been new technology introduced and it changes the landscape, like whether it's like the introducing the talkies or Technicolor, from black and white to that, or like 3D CGI imagery. Like this does feel like a true innovation, or like I don't know.
Yeah, it's like how Eisenstein like changed the nature of editing by just like editing differently. Yeah, it's like it would be funny if it was a big like kind of like cinema inside baseball thing because Sam Barlow would get this award and be like, oh, I love
thanks,
that. I get that
guys.
reference.
Yeah,
the Kuleshov award. Yeah, fuck.
Science Academy.
The perfect cut. The like
Best Picture.
best picture.
Yeah, can we just give it an Oscar? Can we just give it a fucking
That's
Oscar?
funny.
Yeah,
That's
honestly,
funny.
give it to Best Picture. Yeah,
Give it
I
the
think
Best Picture.
I actually love
Yes,
that.
Best
I feel
that's
like
really
we're
funny.
getting too conceptual with it. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's just like
Best
a
Picture.
pithy,
That's
funny, Best
perfect.
Picture award.
And the award for Best Picture goes to Immortality. Because, it's us leaning
yes.
into the history. Because I was thinking of Academy Awards of Arts and Sciences. Like, this really is, like Hollywood should know about this game. This is so crazy. And, like, imagine if James Cameron wanted to make an Avatar thing with this shit. Like, I'm all
Roger
for
Ebert
it.
would have liked this game for sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he probably would have.
Yeah.
This would have changed Robert Ebert's mind about
Yeah.
video games.
This would have made him
I don't know.
cry.
Sometimes some people like tweet or like TikTok some real fucking hot takes from Roger Ebert. Like, or I'm like, oh man, you didn't like that? Shit, you thought Starship Troopers was on the nose? Actually, I'm not even sure if that was one of his. The Thing. He didn't like The Thing.
What?
Wow,
Yeah.
Roger.
Friendship with Roger Ebert ended.
Yeah, thought the
Enjoy that
characters were
grave.
two-dimensional and it was too gory.
He's two-dimensional and not gory enough.
The other guy liked it. What was his name?
Well, he's a skeleton
Siskel.
now, so
Siskel, yeah. Gene
Siskel?
Siskel. Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
gory.
There's nothing more gory than being dead. You're right.
Yeah,
Jesse.
exactly. Yeah.
That's very true.
Sorry.
Okay, Best Picture was said almost as a joke, but is that the one?
I love
Dude,
it.
no, that's
I think
perfect.
Best
because
Picture is very funny.
because that really is like the highest. If you want to, like, there's the Palme d'Or, but that's even too snooty. But like it really is the highest award you can get in terms of American filmmaking. Like, and I think it stands. Like, Immortality would be a sick ass like film or a Hollywood noir novel. Like it's story and yeah.
All right. Each
Best
of you,
Picture.
which would be if you could have one of these movies be a real movie, which one would you want to watch? Frank, you go first.
Two of everything.
Okay.
Very sexy.
Oh man, I don't know. Probably
Fucking ends with a dead woman. What's up with you, Frank?
So hot. She gets burned. doesn't
Two
she?
of Everything does feel like David Lynch in his prime.
Yes.
Yeah, I would kind of like to watch Two of Everything. What's the middle one called? What's the cop one called?
Minsky.
Minsky. Yeah,
probably sick.
Minsky would be pretty cool. If you get like Scorsese on
Yep.
Minsky or something, that'd be a good one.
Jesse?
Ambrosio's got to be the one you watch drunk. So that one.
Yeah, Ambrosio's the one you watch
I
with
want to
friends.
watch
drunk.
Ambrosio. Ambrosio
Yeah.
does something to me, man. That's like we'll talk about it in Pentiment in next week's episode. But there's something about like just being a fucking naughty nun or naughty priest.
yeah.
I don't know what it does to me, man. I gotta.
You got some stuff
like
you got to
a-
work out.
You got some baggage.
I gotta. There's a lot of Catholic guilt in me right now. That's pent up.
Oh,
but,
whip me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I gotta watch more Giallo movies, I guess. Jesus. Gonna isolate that. Make that really sexy ringtone. Okay, Best Picture. We'll give it Best Picture. That's very
The
perfect.
last comment about Best Picture is it's perfect because it's at first glance you're like, oh, that's dumb, and then you think about it, you're like, oh no, that's brilliant. It's like it works
Yeah.
on both levels.
And then you do use like the image function to find one image you still
That's what I was thinking
Yeah,
about. Yeah,
true.
all the
Yeah.
stills. Yeah.
Okay, Best Picture.
Best Picture. Okay, we have two down. Best Picture, Narrative Sashimi. Let's go to Neon White. This is the last tricky one we kind of have, to be honest. Style, speed, vibes, speed running, flow state, self mastery, congregation, sermon.
It's like the Church of Perfect Runs.
The Church of something. It has to be the Church of something.
Yeah. The what are churches called?
Church of Run Times. Like
the
fun
Church
times.
The Church of
Run
Self Mastery sounds like a weird
Run,
cult.
run times with friends.
Yeah. The Church of the Perfect Run. Church of the Immaculate Run.
Yes. Church of the
No,
Immaculate.
it's- what
Speed
Yeah,
something.
what rhymes with conception that has?
Yeah.
Perfection,
Yeah.
Immaculate.
Church of the
Yes.
Immaculate.
Church of the Immaculate Perfection.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
Come on.
almost there.
It's
It's pretty
almost
good.
there.
It
Put
needs
it down
to,
so we don't forget it.
communicate, like, yeah, no, that's pretty good though. The Church of the. Oh man. Google.
What if we go
rhyme.
with the Church of Frame Perfection? That's almost Immaculate Conception, Frame Perfection.
Oh man.
I'm going down through a rhyme.
I'm on Rhyme Zone right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel
There's
like
a lot of words that rhyme with rejection.
I know, and none of them fit. Erection.
Erection.
There you go. Fucking same time. Same time. One brain cell.
God damn it. God damn it. Oh man.
God, there's so many words that end in I.
Yeah, Church of the
ION. There
Church of
has
the
to be
Immaculate
one here.
Direction. Epson. That doesn't rhyme.
Stepson.
Stepson. Church of the Immaculate Stepson. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if any of these will work.
I'm still going.
Church of the Immaculate. I mean, it doesn't have to rhyme with conception, but that would be perfect if it did.
know. Wouldn't it?
It would.
Or there must be so many like silly little. Is this New Testament or Old Testament? Is this Old Testament stuff? Is it?
The game?
Yeah.
Feels more.
Is this Christian or Jewish? Is what I'm asking.
I'm pretty sure it's
more
Jewish.
Christian, I'd say.
Like I said, the thing's the
Is
Star
it?
of
Jewish.
David.
Okay.
Oh
so
yeah, you're right.
So
Yeah.
we need to make sure it's Jewish or Old Testament then.
Okay.
We can't lob some Catholic shit on this.
Could be both, really. Who knows?
It would feel.
They're both Abrahamic,
I mean,
right? It's fine.
Jesus was a Jew,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Oh,
Yeah.
great! We've just solved all world peace, basically. Almost
on,
all
guys.
of it. We've solved
man.
it. Yeah.
We got
everyone chill out.
2/3 of the Abrahamic religions reconciled.
Exactly.
Yeah, baby.
All good. Now just stop stealing land. Maybe
One state solution, right? That's what we're supporting.
One religion solution.
Okay, we're going down. We're going down. Like,
We're going down a
look,
bad path.
I know I'm the one that mentioned Mein Kampf earlier, but we need to just like fucking cool our jets here a little bit. Yeah, like what? No, I don't want to make something like trite either. It's easier with your own religion, isn't it? It's easier to just
Say whatever you want. Yeah.
play fast and I don't want to. Yeah, I don't know enough about Judaism, honestly, to make that call. But yeah, or yeah, vaguely, Abrahamic, I guess, like church and stuff like that is game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's come back to it. We're having trouble with that one. We need to refresh.
Church of Immaculate something is close though. I feel like we're.
But it's too Christian. It's too.
Is it? Okay.
Catholic.
All right,
yeah.
you're right.
Because it's about Mary, so
You're
it's
right.
like. That's the only thing. Just that nugget of information about it being Jewish is, sort of gets in the way of that a little bit. Angelic.
Ark of the Covenant. There's I'm trying to think of just like tabernacle, just like biblical
Right.
references. 40 days and 40 nights.
It's Jesus again.
Fuck.
I think we're leaving
I'm
the
on a website
anime
that
out
says-
of this discussion, all right? We need to bring
You're right,
the anime
sure.
back to
Anime
Jesus.
Jesus Award.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen pictures of what what angels looked like in the Old Testament? Or not there's no pictures.
Yeah, like the
in Old Testament.
biblically accurate angels,
Yeah, the
right?
wheels
They're
of the
like those
wheels.
Oh, like
weird-
the fucking crazy looking things?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
crazy
yeah.
spirals.
That's in the
that
game.
Ezekiel saw.
Yeah, they're fucking terrifying.
end.
That's why people used to be freaked out when angels appeared. Because
Yeah.
they were like, what the fuck is that?
Be not afraid. That's why they had to say
exactly.
be not afraid. If that's
Yeah.
your first line, I feel like you need to refine your approach.
Okay, let's come back to it. Signalis, Survival Horror Homecoming.
That's pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
I feel like we'll be hard pressed to do better than that.
Okay, we'll leave it up to the YouTube commenters to find something
Better not.
better.
better
Weird,
not. They won't.
Weird West. Game everyone will love in 5 years. Hidden gem, hidden classic.
What's a hidden gem in the Wild West? It's got to
Yeah,
be buried
exactly.
treasure in the Wild West. There's got to be something.
There must be something there. Yeah, you're right. There's like...
Wild West treasure. I'm just Googling Wild West treasure. Oh, it's a website, .org.
Gold mine, hidden gold mine.
Gold mine. Yeah, gold mine is probably the metaphor we're looking for here.
Outlaw loot is a random. That's not it, but those are words that came out.
Vein.
Outlaw.
Striking a
Loot, yeah.
vein. I don't know.
Claim, staking a claim.
Oh, claim is good.
Claim. Ghost Town.
That sounds mean. This game's a ghost
bummer,
town,
isn't it?
No one's fucking playing.
It's a bummer.
Well, there's also. I was thinking of Gold Rush, but it's like opposite. Because
Typed in cowboy phrases, and the first thing that came up was "Howdy Partner." Should have seen that.
Howdy Partner Award. The Snake in My Boots Award. Yeah.
It's a snake in my boot.
The 10-gallon hat award. Give it that.
Rustlers, cattle rustlers,
Ooh, Russell.
Hustlers and Rustlers.
hustlers and rustlers.
that'd be a
I'm
fun
overthinking it here, am I?
Yeah, maybe we should just let it be.
Cult
the
classic
hidden gem.
feels like, I don't know, cult. Oh, there are. cultists in this
What
game.
about Occult Classic?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. I was like,
You said? Did you say
Yeah.
Occult? I didn't even hear
This
you.
happens
'cause I
every
said
time.
that
You guys say the same
yeah,
thing.
we're on the same
a
one.
cult classic, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like
because
that.
there's a I think there's a cultists, right?
Because
Yeah,
occult
there's a ton-
classic
that's like
and
the whole
occult
thing.
classic, right?
Yeah,
Same-
yeah. Okay, cool.
yeah.
I didn't. I thought you said cult,
Occult
so I
classic.
misheard you. Okay, cool. We were.
I said cult, but then I said, oh wait, there are cultists.
Oh, okay,
in this
cool. Yeah,
game.
yeah. No, it's
And that's kind of what Weird West is about, right?
yeah. It's about
Yeah.
the occult and Occult
That's
Classic
it.
is pretty good.
Occult
Occult,
classic.
man, that's good. What's
That's
the
it.
word? There's a word for that, where it's like sounds like it's red, but it's two different
Yeah.
things. I don't know. Whatever.
And a cult classic, for people who don't know what a cult classic is, if you're listening, is basically the idea of a movie that in its prime was not necessarily very famous, but gathered an audience after the fact in the years since, which is kind of what a lot of the Arcane games
Yeah.
are.
Hell yeah, we did
And
it.
a lot of immersive sims are. A cult classic.
Impossible mission accomplished to us, not for
We need to change that. We're going to come back to those in a minute. Okay, so we've got 4 of the 5. Immortality's Best Picture.
Yes.
That's very
So
funny. Citizen Sleeper's Narrative Shishimi Award.
Yep.
Signalis Survival Horror Homecoming.
Yep.
Weird West Occult Classic. And then Neon White. We don't have. So let's get back. Let's pull out of the weeds on this one.
Yeah.
What do we like about it? The flow state, the speed running, the music, the sick vibes.
It's
the leaderboards.
It's a
the guns.
Yeah,
the jumping.
It's a fast ass anime game. It feels like Sega. It's it feels like Counter-Strike Surf. Like those are like the 3 things that.
See, I don't find it to be I know it's an anime game, but I skip all that shit.
Yeah,
and the gameplay to me doesn't feel anime.
Oh, the gameplay is very anime. Like there's a
It
lot of
feels
shonen
divorced
anime
from
that
that.
I mean, it feels like
this.
Counter-Strike or Doom. It doesn't feel like Persona.
But Persona's not really like when I say anime, I mean like anime. Like if
You mean like
ever
people
watch
running real fast? with
yeah,
their
like a
arms
crazy
back and stuff.
shonen
That's true.
fight.
That's
That's
fair.
what this game
Yeah.
feels like.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, you're right.
People running with their arms back.
Hey, that's like high school for
What's
me,
that called
baby.
again? That's
Naruto
called
run.
It's like the
The
Naruto,
Naruto
run.
Naruto run.
Yeah.
What's it called when they do the
Oh wait.
fusion dance?
fusion,
Is that what it
yeah,
is?
yeah.
Wait. Okay. Maybe there's
Fusion.
something. Maybe there's something about like anime run or Naruto run because a run is a single unit
Yes,
of like playing through a
yes.
level.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. That
It's
might
hard
not
to
be.
do it without putting Naruto in the
I
name.
know.
They do reference it in the game, so
They reference Naruto.
yeah, they make us.
running?
You could be the Sasuke to my Naruto, bro.
Oh
Anime
yeah, you're right.
run. Anime run is probably the people are probably called the Naruto run and anime run.
Oh yeah, people who haven't seen
Yeah.
Naruto,
Yeah.
Naruto.
Temple of the Sacred Run. Temple.
Run and he's back on
Temple,
The, Jesus.
yeah.
Well, temples are Old
you're
Testament.
right. Sorry, you're right.
I'm not Church of the. I'm Temple of the.
Temple of.
Doom.
Shabbat Sharun.
Shabbat Sharun.
That's it. See, that's the problem. Is that we're just gonna end up talking like fucking dreidels and stuff. We're just because I don't know. I don't know.
Shabbat Sharun is gonna.
What is it when it? What do you say when the food is properly prepared?
Kosher.
Segoy.
Kosher.
Sure.
Segoy.
Sequoia. Did you say
I
sequoia?
said
No,
Segoy.
Segoy.
Sequoia. Okay.
Oh man.
Oh, okay.
Itakimasu.
Yeah. This gefilte fish is so
That's the thing.
Segoy.
We could end up offending 2 very different types of
Yeah.
people.
I feel like we
Yeah.
already have. Absolutely.
We've already got narrative shishimi in here. We're on fucking
Yeah, we're
thin
pushing
ice.
it.
That-
Not to mention how the occultists feel with us.
Yeah. Who cares?
And they have powers.
They do. Yeah.
Oh man.
What?
Temple Run.
Temple Run. Temple Run. Oh my god.
You're not allowed to give it that award. You're not.
We're not. I'm writing it down because it's funny.
It's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
But we can't call it that.
No, we can't. But
Anime
I had to
Temple
say it.
Run.
Anime-
Anime Temple Run.
Game is too good to insult it.
There
That's
is-
so hurtful.
there is
Ben
also-
Esposito will kill all 4 of us.
Anime Temple Run
Rightfully
has got some best picture vibes. I'll say that.
There is also something like this game was surprising when it was announced. It seemed like such a confusing thing where it was like speedrunning, but it's also a card game. Is this tactics based? What are the cards? And then once you realize how the cards are used, it's like okay. But I'm trying to think, peel back to like the origins of discovering how cool this game is, and then being blasted with that music. It's like, man, there's like it's the opposite of like sky ceiling. Like there's the iceberg effect where it's like on the surface this game seems confusing and overwhelming. Once you actually try it and learn it, you're immediately hooked. And I don't know if that
we have to remember it's the thing this does the
Yes.
best.
Yeah.
So what does it do the best?
It's like speed and precision.
Yes.
It's like that feeling of speed
precision.
and precision.
Yeah.
But like
and besting yourself, besting your
it's about like tuning or like
Yeah.
refining.
Speed.
yeah. And then there's like massive
Speed and speed running is too much speed. Speed is good. Like you're right. Like speed running, speed.
Okay, what about something maybe like speed running and then a run is like a single unit of trying a level.
Oh yeah, run is good as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I keep just thinking Temple Run. You need to stop it.
Anime Temple Run is
saying
very funny.
It's so
just say
stupid.
It is very funny. Objectively. That's it.
That's it. That's enough.
It's enough out of you two.
You've had your fun, now be quiet.
Yeah.
Speed run.
Now say something nice about my favorite game. Man.
Yeah.
Another word that popped in is rush, because you do get a rush from playing it. You're rushing through the levels.
Yes.
But I don't know if that connects to anything else. But there is like quite literal a rush. The music gives you a rush. Like there is that jolt.
Yeah, it's like a sustained rush. Man.
I'm literally on like a fucking looking up phrases with run in them.
I know. We've got 4. Like I feel like we nailed the other 4. I feel like we just need to stick the landing on this one.
Stick the landing,
Exactly,
marathon, complete, photo finish, right when you get to the end of a race. No, obviously not.
Like,
Speed gunner.
it's not bad.
It's not the worst, yeah.
That's a lead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On like a review.
Totally,
Just a
yeah.
Speed gunner.
Speed gunner, yeah. That's the beginning of an 8 out of 10 review.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Like maybe Jesse was talking about speedrun terminology. Maybe something about like any percent. I can't think of like a joke with that or like something pithy though.
Home run.
Let's get some speedrunning terminology going again. I liked frame perfect. I liked that so much.
It's
The
pretty good. I
Church
don't
of
know that
frame perfection
I don't know
was
that
like-
reference.
It's like frame perfect when you're doing everything on the exact frame that it's supposed to happen to get the
it's not
maximum
that.
time.
You know what I mean?
know.
Like
I think it
that's-
is.
that's what Meat Boy is more that. Like you said in the break, remember you were saying the whole like Neon White is not interested in you not finishing its levels. You will, you know what I mean? Like it's not.
Yeah, but the most fun you'll
it's
get
not-
out of it
so-
is when you are trying to do
but
those
I'm not-
things. I think.
For me, it hasn't been like I've not been caring about the leaderboards.
See, but if
And
you go
like, I have
back
all
and
my
you
friends
do
on
it,
the leaderboards.
it will. The game is a totally
Well,
different
we all
game when
play
you're trying to do that.
We all play games differently, right? So
Yeah.
like the thing that I'm enjoying with it is not, it's not that level of mastery. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
I can see how it would be with some people, but that's not what it's been for me. I've been mostly trying to just get the like prime whatever one. I don't need that.
I mean, the game makes you get
maybe I'll
golds.
get there, but
Like that is like to progress, you do have to go back and I get what
That's
you're
true.
saying.
Yeah, what about something about
Yeah,
personal
you're right,
best? Personal best, maybe? That's
Yeah.
like a speedrunning term. I don't know how
Personal
it's
it almost feels like the opposite of what the game is about. It's because it sounds
Yeah.
like it's so
Gotta
much
beat
about
your
the
friends.
leaderboards. for you guys.
interpersonal best.
Yeah, interpersonal best. Yeah. Fuck Neon White. Okay, you know what? Let's hold Neon White for a second. We're gonna spend just a couple of minutes going back over last week's, just to
Okay.
freshen
Cool.
us
Yes.
again. Okay. So Vampire Survivors. Are we happy with best fang for your buck?
Yes.
Yeah,
it
that's
feels
cute.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Inkalot, for best fang for your buck. Sweetest execution.
Love that.
You still feel good about that one?
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. Impossible mission accomplished award. We need to finish. We need to change this one. It
Really?
doesn't-
I like
because
that
it doesn't.
one.
It doesn't explain what the mission was. The mission is the
Yeah.
ending. And
Okay.
once in a lifetime finale was what Revelance 123 said, and I think we can incorporate that somehow.
Yeah.
Like stuck the landing.
I
or
was going to
something
say
like
Stuck the
that.
Landing. I think Stuck the Landing is a really good way of, if we can combine that with Impossible Mission Accomplished, like Stuck the Impossible Landing or
Yeah.
like a triple 20-year long triple axle.
The thing I like about once in a lifetime finale though is that it incorporates the 20-year gap that I was talking about last week, about how it's not even that this game managed to like finish it, it's that the time that it occurs between the games makes it even harder and is also the reason why it works, which is really something. So
I liked when we talked about bullseye and dartboards, like like the
Yeah.
20 hitting a bullseye 20 years away, or like a dartboard that's 20 years away or something. It's like a funny image.
yeah,
I don't know how to make that punchier though.
exactly, the punchiness.
What did you say a bullseye actually was, Danny, on the last episode? You
Bullseye is
corrected
when you
yourself?
hit the middle of the dartboard. It's not technically the highest you can score. Triple
Right.
20 is the highest you can score.
Triple 20. Didn't you just say 20 or something, Jeremy? I don't know. I was trying to make that connection.
Oh yeah, because 20.
20
right.
years
triple
ago,
triple
right?
20 years. Yeah, that's.
yeah.
I feel like that's so many layers of
yeah,
reference.
absolutely.
Though.
That was worth
That's
no
inside
bad
of
as a
baseball.
brainstorming, right?
That's like a deep
Yeah.
fried peanut butter sandwich stuffed inside of a turkey that you put in the oven.
Killed Elvis.
Yeah, true.
That's what got him.
And for that, we were. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, yeah. What, I was gonna say we're grateful for that. I like Elvis. I was just trying to be funny.
He died for our sins, okay?
Died for our sins. The Church of Immaculate Elvis Award.
Oh,
Oh man.
boy. We're saying some stuff on this episode, eh?
Delete it. Delete the F.
Oh, man.
Lifetime Achievement Award.
There you
Lifetime
go.
Achievement Award.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cute.
for Return to Monkey
That is
Island.
cute.
Lifetime
Yeah.
Achievement Award. Yeah, but yeah.
It almost works because it is so much about nostalgia
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
much about like, yeah, it does seem a little bit like dry though, or it just doesn't really nail what's so good about it.
Yeah, compared to some of the other award titles we've come up with,
yeah.
it feels a little stock.
Comeback, something like that. Comeback. What's
Yeah,
another word for a
the
comeback? We have
impossible
Homecoming
comeback.
there already.
Return of the King.
Yeah. What if you called it the Return
Right.
of Monkey Island? What if you called it
Return of
the Return of Monkey
Return of
Island
the
Award?
Monkey King.
Return of the Monkey. Recovery, revival. No. All right, let's come back to it. So the other one was Elden Ring. We had Boundless Wonder Award.
I feel like we can do better than that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Grace was mentioned in the YouTube comments as a possible source of inspiration.
Yeah, like Infinite Grace or something. It's kind of a Boundless Wonder vibe, but
Yeah.
Well, I get you. Yeah, I mean, if it's the same vibe and we liked how that felt, Infinite Grace, Boundless Wonder, feels the same.
yeah.
I don't know. I think I don't like that. I think that's the thing. I
okay,
think
sorry.
it's so no. It's just it's vague. It's so vague.
It doesn't
the
feel like
thing.
it's specific enough to do justice to why to how good
Yeah.
Elden Ring is.
Yeah. Fair.
That's because the thing we've been talking about with Elden Ring was the discovery and the wonder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like and how broad it was. That was the thing we sort of the words just to get it. The words we had before were most game, biggest game, best adventure, most wondrous, most awe, astonishment. And I just put in discovery myself here, and then grace. But it was about.
Yeah,
it was about, like-
it's gotta be something about how like how much this world facilitates having a real sense of adventure. There's a feeling in a lot of video games where they're like, oh, it's like an adventure game, and then you're just it's you go left or you go right, and you end up at the same place either way. It's like this game is so off rails for most of it that I feel like it lets you have the kind of adventure you would have if you just wandered into the hills in real life. It's something about like how vast it is.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Boundless was trying to evoke this sense of just largeness
Yeah.
that exists.
It's maybe like something about Horizon, like over the next horizon or something, like I don't know. It's something about like the feeling of this world being permeated with the potential to have discovery and adventure any direction you go.
Yeah. I like that Horizon bit because I feel like every time,
Yeah.
you cross the horizon, you come over the sort of like
What if
hill,
it's an horizon,
more
but
hills.
there's no dawn?
Yeah. Horizon.
The Dawnless Horizon Award.
We've got that next week, though.
Oh man.
Zero dawn. No dawn.
We got
in the
that.
West. and it's
Horizon
forbidden.
Zero wrong approaches.
So funny.
Yeah, discovery. Like, yeah. Oh boy.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Oh
Turns
boy. Oh
out this
boy.
is
The
hard.
hardest thing I've ever done.
I
Yeah.
know.
In my whole life.
We can always come back to them. We can
Yeah.
always just
It
cut
felt
it there
easier
and be
last
like,
week.
I
It did, didn't it? Well, there was 4 of them
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Now we got 9.
Yeah.
Do
Good
you want to
point.
sleep on some of these?
yeah. I did have one more word that came to mind for Neon White. This isn't gonna be it, but I was thinking, but the Euphoria Award.
Ooh.
Because you truly
Like the
feel
show?
happiness and excitement and colors. But yeah.
Euphoria.
Yeah, or like I do, just to return to an idea that's related to that we touched on earlier. I do like the idea of it being like a flow state inducer or something.
Yeah.
Like I think that's kind of what it was for me, is like a little program I can boot up to just like get into a flow state and just do these little loops.
Best drug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Vampire
it's like the
Survivors is
digital
already up there. What do
drugs.
you mean?
Anime Molly. No.
Ooh.
Vampire Survivors is like digital crack. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is like digital MDMA.
Typing down
This is a
anime
smoother
Molly,
drug.
just for
This
fun.
is
Anime Molly.
anime.
And-
Molly's
That's what Frank
good.
said.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's what it feels like.
MDMA.
Ooh, MDMA is funny.
MDMA.
At this point, I'm fine with the comedy ones. I'm not going to be insulted anymore.
Best pictures. I'm so happy with Best Picture.
Yeah, that good call on that one, man. I love that.
Yeah, that's really funny.
It's so funny
Okay,
to give an
shall we-
Oscar to a video game.
I feel like we've squeezed our creative juices
Yes.
dry. If we had any more, we'd do it. So let's not overburden everyone listening to us, and we'll come back, and next week we'll have some more. If you have any ideas, put them in the comments as well, pretty quickly if you don't mind, because we're recording these back to back. So if you have any ideas, get them in real quick. I might be checking them while we're recording the next podcast. Okay, so today we covered Immortality, which got our Best Picture Award, Citizen Sleeper, Narrative Shishimi Award, Signalis, Survival Horror Homecoming, Weird West got Occult Classic, and Neon White has a As Yet To Be Determined Award. Vampire Survivors, of course, last week got Best Fang for Your Buck, or has been christened it now. Thank you, Inkalot. Return to Monkey Island and Elden Ring, we have to get the new ones, and Cult of the Lamb, of course, with Sweetest Execution. We will be back next week with Tunic, Pentiment, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, Horizon Forbidden West, and God of War Ragnarok. To edge out and finish off our 14 games of the year, and then who knows, maybe we'll just trim it down to 10. Maybe after all this chattery, we can get down to business and cut 4 of these so we have our ultimate 10. You'll have to wait and see. Thank you all so much for hanging out and listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.